to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass.
Yes.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
It is Black Friday, so we start with the NFL's Thanksgiving slate. Most of the headlines coming from the early game when the Bears failed to get off a play in the final seconds in what ended up being a 23-20 win for the Detroit Lions. In the middle window, the Cowboys held off the Giants for a 27-20 to win. And then the Packers beat the Dolphins 30-17 at Lambeau Field last night. The NFL Black Friday game is back this year, so one game today. The Chiefs host the Raiders at 3 o'clock. Meanwhile, the Patriots getting ready to take on the Colts on Sunday. That game at Gillette. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff. Coverage will start at 10 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Bruins back at it tonight. They're hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins. Coverage starts at 6 right here on the Sports Hub. And the Celtics are in action as well. They're on the road taking on the Chicago Bulls in their final NBA Cup group stage game. Coverage of that one starts at 7:30 on our sister station, 105.7 WROR. Celtics have a chance to advance to the quarterfinals of the NBA Cup tonight. May need to improve their scoring margin. It depends on what happens in the game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Atlanta Hawks this afternoon. Sports Hub headlines are driven by the versatile Honda CR-V. Head to your local New England Honda dealers to learn more and see our lineup of Honda vehicles. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Let's talk turkey, shall we?
Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, in the sports industry, that's what you say.
Got your talking head right here, buddy.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Hello. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Oopity up with a football.
98.5, the Hub.
Bruins are back from the West Coast. Cocaine and hookers, yes. Na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
It's Black Friday. You know that Toucher's not in. You know that Hardy is not in. You know that Wallach is not. I mean, no one's here except myself, Nick Cattles, Alex Barth, George behind the glass on the ones and twos. Jamelli's here. The only guy that's the regular cast member with us this morning. Black Friday, folks. If you're out shopping right now, you're insane. If you're getting ready to go out shopping, you're insane. I've done it once in my life. I will never do it again, Barth.
No, especially in the age you can just go on your phone and find whatever you need.
Yes.
It's nuts. I used to like watching like the news footage in the morning of all the people parading in on the stores. But no, if you're out in line, and if you are up, we appreciate you tuning in. But if you're up in line, like waiting at one of these stores, cold out,
it's the worst.
Like, what are you doing?
It's the absolute worst. I went years ago with my now wife and my good friend. He used to go every year. It was his thing. And waiting in line and I'm a pretty fast shopper. I'm efficient, right? Well, I walk into a store. I know what that's going to do for somebody. I know that's the right outfit for that person. I just zoom right through a store, grab my stuff, and I'm gone. Black Friday is the worst possible thing if you are like that. If you like long lines, if you like just taking 45 minutes to try to pick something out, this is your day. This is your moment.
Yeah, I went once with family. We didn't go at like first thing in the morning. We went probably like 10, 11 o'clock, and I remember being there for 30 minutes. I'm like, we need to go.
Brutal.
Just let's get out of here.
So how was the turkey day, Barth?
It was good. It was good. Had some family in town, out at my parents', nice and low key. Watched football most of the day. Got a little backyard football in before it started raining, which was nice.
Nice.
Helped out with the cooking. Me and my brother usually like to help out with the cooking, so we did our part there. And then I was on the couch most of the day. Can't complain.
Yeah, I did not cook at all. Not for one single second. I leave that to the experts. I don't touch the food during Thanksgiving to cook. I certainly touch it to eat it. But no cooking for me.
So you don't even like, because I'll help. Like, I'm not like cooking, but I like peel the potatoes, cut the vegetables, like the basics.
A lot of that stuff's done. I go to the
you
in-laws. I show up, and the in-laws already have a lot of that done. So the mother-in-law had a lot of mashed potatoes done, and the stepfather was working on the turkey. So a lot of that's done. Show up at 1 o'clock. We eat at like around 1:30. Kelly, my wife, she worked on side dishes on Wednesday night. I was here Wednesday night working, so I would have helped her on Wednesday night, but I was here working the Joe Murray show and then the Bruins game, so I didn't really have an opportunity to help her. And as far as going outside and backyard football, can't do it. I'll pull every muscle in my body. I'll blow my back out. Can't do it.
I didn't feel great. I think we got like 6 or 7 plays.
And you're a lot younger than I am, so I mean, oof.
1:30. So I found this out yesterday. I didn't know. I guess my family eats late. We eat like 4:35.
Oh, that's really
for
late.
Thanksgiving. I didn't know. No, people were texting me.
So hold on. What do you eat? So what do you eat for lunch?
We do appetizers like all
right.
day, all morning.
I don't hate it.
You know, chicken fingers, pigs in a blanket. My mom makes this like it's salami glazed with like honey.
Yeah, but
kind
how?
of thing.
So how do you? You're still hungry by dinner time?
Well, so we'll start snacking, 10:30, 11. That runs through like 3, take a couple hours off, and then, you're ready to go. But so I
reset
guess
for a couple hours.
A lot of people do. I know people are like, well, then you don't have it's too late, then you can't have leftovers that night. Usually, if I wasn't working, I'd be up first thing. I go downstairs and I make myself a plate of leftovers Friday morning. I'm like a next day leftovers.
Friday morning.
Well, morning, getting up the day after Thanksgiving. That's like 11 o'clock.
Wow. Look at you. I eat Thanksgiving dinner at like around 1:30 every year. That's usually the time. And then you have the leftovers later on in the night. I did change it up last night. People might call me out on this. I couldn't care less. I had chicken instead of turkey. I subbed the chicken instead of turkey because I had to, do some work last night for the show today. I didn't want to be all sleepy. I felt like I had enough turkey. I'm not a big leftovers guy. For Thanksgiving, I am.
I love leftovers.
For Thanksgiving, I'm a big leftovers guy, but every other day of the year, I am not. I'm not a big the wife loves the leftovers. I don't like eating the same thing twice a week, like for dinner. I don't like it.
Oh, I can do that. I've never had that thing where people are like, oh, I had this last night, so like if it's like 3-4 days in a row, I get it. But I've never been one that's I had that last night, so I can't have it tonight. But Thanksgiving is. But I was telling people last night, if they're not up right now, but if you're listening back at home,
you sure they didn't have the alarm at like 5:30 for you?
I am expecting food to be there when I get back home.
Oh, do you live with your parents?
No.
Okay.
No, but I stay with them during the holiday.
Okay.
My cousins are staying with them. And
Yeah.
I went home last night because I knew I had to go to bed early, but I'll go back over there.
Yeah, so not a big leftovers guy. I think it's because this is a quirk of mine. I'm OCD if people don't know. Again, Nick Cattle's in along with Alex Barth for Toucher and Hardy this morning. I when I was younger and, living alone, I literally ate the same dinner every night 4 or 5 days a week. It was chicken breast, rice, and corn. And I would cook the chicken on like Monday for the whole week. So I would just get home from work, zap it in the microwave, done. And I think that got me in the whole like, all right, do I want to have the same dinner over and over and over again? Do I really want to do this? What's the have to have it food on the plate for you?
Mashed potatoes.
See, I'm not a huge. I like mashed potatoes, but I'm not a huge mashed guy.
I love mashed
Stuffing
potatoes.
Is mine. I've got to have stuffing.
Stuffing's up there for me.
Stuffing's at the top of the list. If there is no stuffing, my Thanksgiving is ruined.
That's probably I'd probably go mashed potatoes, turkey, stuffing. Top 3.
Mashed potatoes, turkey, stuffing.
Yeah.
I'd probably go stuffing, turkey, and the wife made what is it, butternut squash or something? But it had some like maple syrup in it all.
Okay.
It was really good. Now, I got in-laws. You don't have in-laws, right? Do you have a significant other?
Not at the moment.
Okay, so you're with family.
Yep.
George, you're like on the precipice of marriage, aren't you?
Yeah, I walk the plank next month.
Next month?
Yes, indeed. The only day I requested off that Saturday.
Oh, next month. When's the big day? December what?
December the 21st.
Can I just tell you this? You consider me a friend?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a terrible idea.
Well, I
Not getting married.
Okay, yeah.
If you want to get married, fine. It is what it is. December 21st is a terrible idea.
Yeah, I know. God bless everybody else showing out for us.
When is your future wife's birthday?
August the 17th.
All right, not as bad as it could be. But being married right before Christmas, not great.
I tell you,
You're going to get whacked around the end of
Christmas
December.
babies. The story behind it is I have
Hold on, you got two Christmas babies?
two Christmas I know.
What are we doing, George?
One was COVID, so I'll blame that. But I have a soon-to-be 6-year-old on the 20th and a soon-to-be 4-year-old on the 22nd. I figured I'd split the difference and get married on the 21st.
Oh my God. Hold on.
Sounds romantic, right?
But yeah, you know what though? The more I think about this, you might be genius. Because you get all of it done in one shot, right? So you got the one kid's birthday on the 20th. Your wedding anniversary will be the 21st. Another kid's birthday on the 22nd, and then you're right into Christmas.
Correct. Only one of them by design. The marriage.
That's
on the 21st
insane.
In between, yes.
That's insane. Well, good luck to you, sir. I ask you this. You went to the in-laws yesterday, right?
Correct, yes. Got a good dose of lions and bears. Lions and tigers and bears.
Jameli, you're a married man, correct? All right. Does Jameli have a microphone? All right, don't be afraid. All right, so here's what I have for you two guys. You're at the in-laws. Did you go to the in-laws yesterday for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all of us, I went to the in-laws yesterday. How long is too long? How long is too long to be at the in-laws? Do you cut it off?
Oh, yeah, I have to. We were out. We left around like 7:30 last night.
When'd you get there?
Probably around 3:30.
All right. So 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours. But we have a almost 2-year-old, so we kind of rely on him.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
4 hours is a long time when you get a 2-year-old. I would have been out in like 90 minutes.
Absolutely. We got him changed in his pajamas at 7:15, and we were out the door at 7:30, and he was asleep halfway through the drive home. So that's how we roll.
George, how long did you stay, George? How long were you at the in-laws for yesterday?
I tell you, I was punctually there to about 3:45.
When'd you get there?
I got there on the early side, before noon, around 11 o'clock hour.
So 4 hours. So you guys were both around 4 hours.
Yes.
All right, because I feel like once you get to like 3.5 hours, like 3.5 hours, do you start getting the itch?
Yeah, I tell you.
And it doesn't mean you don't love your in-laws.
Oh, no.
It's just you get the itch.
I purposely program the scheduling around that Thanksgiving, and I agree with you. I kind of eat now traditionally in the early afternoon. I planned it around football.
Yeah, we don't eat at 5 o'clock on Thanksgiving like Barth because he's just weird.
Well, unless you're going to have a second serving.
You got to fit all his apps in all day.
Yeah, and I understand why, because I am hungry again by 5, 6 o'clock, and then having some leftovers.
You asked my favorite thing is on the plate. Like the apps are up there. The like just getting a snack on all this different food all day. Like that's
we weren't heavy on the apps this year. It was just your cheese and crackers, a little bit of
chips and dip.
None of that. Mostly just like cheese and crackers. But we got there at 1. We ate at 1:30. So it wasn't like I was going to sit there and scarf down a bunch of apps. By the way, did you talk to your future wife about how long you're going to be at the in-laws' house for the holiday? Did you have that conversation, or do you go off of her? Or does she go off of you?
She goes off of me. Based off of the schedule, I'm a substitute teacher over here pretty much. So we'll play it by ear based on the schedule, and we do organize it kind of ahead of time to kind of get the ducks in a row.
What were the table topics yesterday?
Football, marriage, have family with
Well, you got
babies.
the wedding coming up, so I'm sure that was just nonstop in your ear yesterday. That must have been a blast for you.
Absolutely. I'm glad I could partake with the family and things like that, too. It seems like every other year somebody's pregnant, somebody's had a new baby, and I'm a baby lover myself, so I'm always engaging in the babies.
How about you, Barth?
So my cousins are really into the Costco guys.
Don't get the boom?
Yeah, I'm not, but my cousins are.
I wish I had a camera on Jameli's face. He just looked at you so disgusted.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But so they wanted to show my parents and my aunt, my uncle, and they're like terrified of them now.
I don't know much about them. I just know the guy goes boom. And I'm a big wrestling fan, so I know that the Costco AJ guy just wrestled in AEW last weekend, apparently with a broken foot. That's all I know about those
Most
guys.
of what I know about them, I learned in the last 24 hours. None of it was by choice. but that was a big. They wanted to show him.
Costco guys.
Yeah.
All right, look, I'm not going to pass judgment. Did you see the Chevy commercial?
I saw everybody tweeting about it. I missed it.
You saw the Chevy dad commercial?
No, not this one.
Jamelli didn't see it? I'm the only one that saw this commercial. This Chevy dad commercial is one of the most over-the-top commercials I've ever seen in my
I
life.
meant to look that up. I got to watch it during the break.
It is so dramatic and bad. It is so you guys have to look it up. It's about a grandfather. It is so over-the-top, holiday corny. I saw it I don't know how you guys didn't see it. I saw it 7 times yesterday during all the games. It was nonstop. It's a father and son. They're in a truck, and they're talking about it's brutal.
I'm just a jingle guy. I remember the Like a Rock commercials. Like a rock.
So,
like a rock.
It's just so don't sing again.
Wait,
so over the top.
There's a 6-minute version of it on YouTube.
Shut up.
I assume it says The Sanctuary full length. It was posted yesterday.
Okay, so the minute version is insufferable.
Okay, here's the minute version.
Why did anybody think that going 6 minutes with this was a good idea?
5:31 to be fair.
That's you know what that is? That's 5 minutes and 28 seconds too long.
50,000 views on a commercial, on a 5.5-minute commercial. How
It's-
many people skipped the commercial to get to this commercial?
It's so bad. It's so bad.
I'm gonna watch this during the break.
I tweeted it out last night. I didn't tweet a lot yesterday because it was Turkey Day, but it was so insufferable that I had to pick up my phone and tweet about it. I'm like, this Chevy dad commercial is so over the top, and I didn't have anybody fight me on it. I think we're all in agreement that this thing is way over the top. All right, anyway, 617-779-0985. He's Barth. I'm Cattles. In for Toucher, Hardy, and Wallach. What happened last night? Coming up next.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the What's the best way to listen to Toucher and Hardy?
Well, you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy this morning. Happy Black Friday. How you doing? Hopefully well. Hopefully no fights. Hopefully all of you yesterday stayed away from politics. Hopefully you've moved on. Election day's over. Buddy of mine told me about a recent situation at a get-together he had at a family member's house, and one person started screaming and yelling, and the whole house had to just break up, and everybody left. So hopefully you stayed away from that yesterday. What you didn't stay away from yesterday was, of course, football, right? Synonymous with Thanksgiving, synonymous with Turkey Day. And I was watching Bears-Lions, Alex, and I thought it was over by the second quarter. I'm like, oh, this game's over. Like, I think the Bears had like 15 total yards in the second quarter. It was absolutely outrageous. And so then we leave the living room. We go have our dinner. And I get back into the living room, and all of a sudden it's a football game. The Bears end up down 3 points with the ball. I'm sure most of you saw this. It's 2nd and 20 at the Detroit 35-yard line. Chicago has one timeout, and there is 36 seconds left on the clock. Now, Caleb Williams, I won't put this all on him, but the man loves taking sacks. He can't take enough sacks. I think he wants to break the record. He loves holding on to the football. We saw it when they played the Patriots. He just loves holding on to the football. So he gets sacked. But the sack, you could say it might be on him, but it was somewhat quick pressure. So Caleb Williams gets sacked. There's about 30 seconds left on the clock. Williams gets up. Offense starts making their way back to the line of scrimmage. And we're all just sitting there watching. We're just
Throws
watching
it deep
this play out.
downfield. It is up for grabs and incomplete. That's it. What in the world were the Bears thinking? This game is over.
Yeah, so that was the Detroit Lions radio play-by-play call. And I'm sitting there. I'm sure you had the same reaction, Barth. The time is ticking. Eberflus is standing there. Caleb Williams is looking around at the line of scrimmage. I'm looking around. I'm trying to figure out why they're not calling a timeout. I'm going, call timeout. Call a timeout, Matt. Call a time. What are we doing? And they don't take the snap until like 3 seconds left on the clock.
At what point, if you're Eberflus or Caleb Williams, I get it. Like, Caleb Williams is trying to respect his coach. Matt Eberflus is trying to let his rookie quarterback handle the situation. But at a certain point, you got to look at that and say, we have to get 2 plays off. We have to have 2 plays here and call that timeout. That's better than just blindly snapping it with 3 seconds to go. And that's a situation that teams rep that in training camp over and over and over. Even if you don't want to use the timeout or you don't want to like quick snap it, you call a timeout, you run a quick play, then you run the field goal team on. Like, we've seen teams do that. That is repped over and over and over in training camp, and they botched it. They completely botched it. Everybody involved botched it. You should not come out of that game with a timeout. Is it ideal to have to burn it early? No, but also, like, Caleb Williams at the line doing checks, looking around. He's got to snap it, or somebody's got to yell from the sideline, snap the ball, snap the ball. Just a complete disaster class, puked all over themselves.
This was the worst clock management that I've ever seen in my life. That's not hyperbolic. I think everybody watching the football game was screaming, you have a timeout. And like you said, Alex, look, I know a couple people. I tweeted out something about Eberflus last night. It was one of my 3 or 4 tweets from yesterday.
He's still there.
He's still there right now. I don't know if he's going to be there in 90 minutes or so.
I said 9:01 in the email chain. So
I tweeted out yesterday just like something about Eberflus, right? And with a GIF, and a couple people tweeted back at me and said, like, oh, well, that's on Williams too. Look, there's a couple things. Number one, you can call the timeout as soon as Williams is sacked if you want. That gives you 30 seconds. That could get you 2 or 3 plays. Like, if you run quick plays to the towards the sidelines, you can run 1 or 2 quick plays and still get your field goal unit out there to kick the field goal.
Or at the very least, it gives you time to run a quick hitter over the middle and then run the field goal team with the clock running.
Or you can run one play, right? So you call a timeout right away. If you don't call a timeout right away, like you just said, Alex, yes, Caleb Williams is signaling at the line of scrimmage. He's taking forever. He was clueless in the situation, which should really make you appreciate Drake Maye for the end of the half situation from a couple of weeks ago when he's running everybody down to the line of scrimmage going, we got to clock it. Williams was lost. But you're the head coach. You have to throw the lifeline to your rookie quarterback in that situation. Yeah. When 5 seconds go off, 10 seconds go, you have to call a timeout at some moment there to give your offense enough time to run one more play to get closer.
And if you're Matt Eberflus, at a certain point, isn't there an element of what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to fall on him. It's going to fall on you. You can't not call a timeout there and then put the blame on the quarterback. Like, you got to know what the situation is. Your job's on the line, man. That timeout
I like what we did.
Is not worth your job.
Yeah. So if it wasn't bad enough, we'll get to Eberflus in a minute. But I do want to hear the Chicago radio call of that moment because I can just imagine what it sounded like.
15 seconds, 3rd and 26. Caleb's got to make a play here with 11 seconds to go in the game. Awaiting the snap, got to hurry it up. 7-6, takes the snap. Caleb Williams from the pocket, zings it down the field, twisting, turning inside the 5 as time expires for Roma Dunze. That's it. No flags. And the ball game is over. Everybody's standing around in stunned disbelief on both sides. Nobody's celebrating. But the game is over. Something happened down the stretch here. It did not make sense.
No, nothing happened.
3rd and 26. That ball goes incomplete, and the Lions survive a hellacious comeback by the Bears from 16 down.
Something is one way to put it.
Something just happened.
Could we just get that oh.
That
was amazing.
That is the sound of defeat.
That's not even angry.
No.
Or it's
I'd say disgusted maybe. Just utter disappointment.
Yeah.
Field twisting.
Me when I get home and there's no leftovers left.
When the turkey's too dry. So Eberflus, here he was in the postgame on the decision-making process. I promise you, he was there. He talked
Our
about
hope was, because it was 3rd going into 4th, that we would re-rack that play at 18 seconds, throw it inbounds, get it into the field goal range, and then call the timeout. And that's where it was, and that was our decision-making process on that.
Okay, so Matt.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, Matt, why was the ball not snapped at 18 seconds then?
Why wasn't the ball snapped at 18 seconds?
We just got to get it. We just got to do a better job together.
What does that mean?
Nothing, just words. he just wanted to share words with everybody.
I like what we did.
Oh, I'm glad you do. Because nobody else on the planet likes what you did. None of your players liked what you did. You just to say the plan. So here's my question. If the plan was to snap the ball at 18 seconds and once the ball is not snapped, why do you not call a timeout then and go, okay, guys, we need everybody take a deep breath.
Right.
Let's run a different play, get out of bounds, or like you said, something quick over the middle, get the field goal unit out there. If you're approaching 18 seconds and Caleb Williams is flapping his arms at the line of scrimmage, having no idea what the hell is – 15 more seconds went off the clock from 18 to 3, Matt. What are we doing here, Matt Eberflus? What are we thinking?
Oh, he likes what they did. I'd like to know what exactly he likes about what they did.
If I was a Bears fan, I would want to kill somebody with my bare hands after hearing that.
So
from
to
Eberflus.
put those three together, here was our plan. We didn't execute it,
Yep.
but I still feel good about it. That's basically what he said. Because, yeah, all right, we're going to snap, go over the middle, 18 seconds, call timeout, run the field goal team on. Great. Like, yeah, that's exactly what you should have done. You did nothing close to resembling that. Yeah, the turkey, we're going to dry brine it, put some rosemary, some thyme in there, some lemon, maybe a little butter, cook it 3.5 hours. All right, well, you left it out in the backyard overnight and then hit it with a hammer. Yeah, but I like what we did. That's basically what happened.
It's truly amazing. This was the plan. We completely failed to execute the plan, but I feel great about it. I'm going to put my head on the pillow tonight. I'm going to sleep like a baby. I've got no problem whatsoever with this. I mean, if I'm telling you.
I like what we did.
If he is not fired within the next 90 minutes or so, what in the blue hell is Chicago doing?
I'll give him till 9 o'clock. I'll give him till like the opening. That's why I said 9:01. I'll give him to the. I know it's a holiday. I'll give him till the opening of business hours.
Over under 9 o'clock. I'm gonna go. Well, you know what? I'm actually gonna go over now that I think about it because Chicago Central Time, right?
Oh, that's right. All right, so 10:00. Oh,
see,
that's the thing with this show. It's always 5-10 minutes after the show and the news breaks.
So like 10:10
or
10:10. Eberflus is canned.
Or do they try to bury it in the Black Friday game?
I mean, if I'm Chicago, if I'm the Bears, I would be like, I'd be announcing this as soon as possible so fans aren't freaking out. Like, I'd get this out of the way quick. Guess what? Yes, he's gone. We all watched the game yesterday. He's gone.
That's right. If you want to move Black Friday merch, you got to get it going. What's Matt Eberflus's reaction going to be when he gets fired?
All right, we got more football to talk about. Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
It is Black Friday, and we start with that game between the Lions and Bears. The Bears failing to get a playoff in the final seconds and would end up being a 23-.
to his right. Snap, give, fake to Jacobs, quick toss, Reed, left side, breaks, tackles, 10, 5, end zone, touchdown. Jaden Reed, his second touchdown of the night.
Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in on this Black Friday morning. Was happening? In for Toucher and Hardy. George and Jamelli beyond the glass helping us out tremendously today. And if you're going shopping today, go in peace. Make sure you don't yell at anybody. Doesn't get confrontational.
Hands to yourself.
I feel like there's a lot less Black Friday fights and people trampling over each other nowadays.
Well, because I think just less people go.
Yeah.
Because you can...
Online stuff.
Right. Roll over in bed, pick up your phone, go on Amazon, 20 minutes, boom, you're done.
Because back in the day, cats used to get trampled.
Oh, like I said, I used to love just waking up and watching the news and seeing all the stampedes.
You go to a good Walmart on a Black Friday and someone is going to get hurt.
Bring your popcorn.
Someone's going to get hurt. Wear some kind of body armor. No joke. No joke at all. Yeah, so there's a lot less of that, I think, now. A lot less people going, a lot less, confrontation. I also wonder if it's, people are now used to the whole idea of cell phones and social media, so they don't want to get clipped.
Oh, I don't think that's stopping people from anything.
Yeah, you get heated enough. Don't really matter.
Well, and they want the clout. Remember that whole thing with Jason Kelsey at Penn State a couple weeks ago?
I didn't have any problem with that, by the way.
From Kelsey's point of view?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Smash the phone.
But if you're dumb enough to say something like that to an NFL player, you'll fight somebody over a pair of shoes.
Consequences, bro. Consequences for that guy. Like, hey, your cell phone, God rest. Rest in power to your cell phone. Because you say that to Jason Kelsey, who, by the way, just the way he smashed that phone, that dude has some crazy strength. Like, he barely, moved it and you heard that phone, just smash in pieces. And I'm like, the dude's lucky that Kelsey didn't swing on him.
Right.
He's lucky it was a cell phone. Anyway, back to football from yesterday. So, Miami, Green Bay, you just heard Jordan Love throwing a touchdown to Reed, who had a great game last night. And, Barth, the one takeaway from that game is I think a lot of the people that watch that game and know about the NFL, you probably had the same takeaway, which is, again, the Dolphins. What do we know about the Dolphins? The Dolphins do not play good teams well.
Yep.
They tend to struggle against good teams, and they suck in cold weather. The Associated Press last night wrote this: the Dolphins have lost their past 12 regular season or postseason games in which the temperature at kickoff has been below 40 degrees. They've now lost 12 in a row. The Dolphins' most recent victory in a game with a kickoff temp at 40 or lower was a 34-31 overtime win at Buffalo in December of 2016. They have not won a football game with the temp at 40 or below in almost 8 years. If you get to the playoffs, which is not going to happen after last night's loss, I don't think. But if you get to the playoffs and you're not playing in Miami, you're not playing in a warm weather area,
right?
How in the world, Alex, could you possibly believe in this football team winning that game?
And this is why, by the way, it blows my mind that Buffalo wanted to build a dome. How are you going to give away that home field advantage?
Yeah.
But, yeah, did you watch Mike McDaniel's halftime interview? Like, he sounded cold. He sounded like a kid that's been standing outside in the cold, shoveling snow or whatever for about an hour. Like, they can't. Here's another one. Has Tua ever worn sleeves?
I don't know.
I was trying to think about this last night. I was trying to find a picture of it, and I couldn't.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall.
We'll
him
get George on
sleeves.
Sleeve Watch or Jamelli. Can one of you guys track down a picture of Tua with sleeves? Let's get on that.
Like, maybe that'll help. I don't know. I don't think. Maybe not. Maybe I'm grasping for straws here, but it's like, and this is a problem that I have with the West Coast offense, Shanahan coaches. They're so hesitant to adjust anything.
Yeah.
That it's got to be in their head at this point.
I know you look at Tua's stats and you go, wow, he played really well, right? I mean, look, 80% completion percentage, 365, 2 touchdowns, a quarterback rating, passer rating of 114. But I will tell you, through the first 2.5 quarters, he stunk. He was a huge part of why Miami was down so big in that game so early. He missed Tyreek Hill a couple times. He missed a chance for some big plays. He missed a couple of throws, I think, early in the third quarter. I mean, yes, the numbers look great. But if you watch that game, for the first 2.5 quarters, he looked like a guy that did not want to be out there, completely uncomfortable. His accuracy was all over the joint. He was throwing short beyond 15 yards consistently. He didn't look like he was, happy to be out there. None of the team. Defensive players had trouble tackling, falling off dudes. They do not play in good weather. Meanwhile, the Giants just don't play well at all. This team sucks. If you're hoping the Patriots are going to have the first pick in the draft, if you're one of the draft people again this year, and you're praying, I'm not one of those people, by the way. I'm not rooting for losses. But if you are rooting for losses and you want the first pick overall, I'm sorry. The Giants have that thing in a headlock. That team stinks.
By the way, you know the rest of their schedule?
What is it?
So they have New Orleans next week. That's
at New Orleans?
No, that's a home game. So maybe they get that. Baltimore.
I don't know. My guy is he from URI? You know that, right?
Yeah.
Darren Rizzi?
Yep.
Coached at URI.
Clogs toilets. Then you've got Baltimore, Atlanta.
Yesterday must have been a humdinger then for Turkey Day.
Baltimore, Atlanta, Indy, Philly.
All right, say it again.
So they got the Saints.
Yep.
Baltimore.
Loss.
Atlanta.
Loss.
Indy. Philly.
Loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna end up with if they're lucky with 3 wins.
Right.
They stink. And
they want to stink. They're
they're
doing a real tank.
Oh yeah.
Starting and I know Locke started yesterday and he wasn't great, but they're trying to go with DeVito. Like they are all in on Shadur Sanders, Cam Ward, whoever.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to work out for them, but okay.
I know we'll get to it later. Do you think they regret not giving a true Godfather offer for Drake May? Because they didn't. From everything that's been reported, there was it was a fine offer. It was not the kind of offer it takes to make a trade
according to Diana Rossini this week, they the Giants' offer was their first-round pick this year, which, by the way, get out of my face with that because that's a pick swap. If you go from 3 to 6, they're not giving you a first-round pick. You're swapping picks, and you're getting the worst of the 2 picks in a 25 first-rounder. That's what the offer was.
That's 1 first-round pick and then some short.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not enough.
And Joe Schoen's going to lose his job.
So to answer your question, I would be regretting it. I mean, look, I don't know if the Patriots would have taken it anyway, even if you upped it. But if you're Shane, if you're Dayball, and you're sitting there watching this bleep show play out, you have to second guess yourself and say, why didn't we try to go over the top for our guy? Because they obviously love Drake May.
Yep.
Why did you not go over the top? And they're watching Drake May now, and they're probably kicking themselves in the ass even more. So yeah, I mean,
watching Drake May and Saquon Barkley, thinking about what could have been.
Well, we know Mara. Mara's throwing furniture watching Saquon.
Yeah,
he's losing his mind.
Have they mentioned that on any NFL broadcast, by the way, that the Giants might be upset anytime Saquon touches the ball? Have you heard any announcer talk about that?
I think it's a very underplayed element of this whole story, Alex. I think it's very underplayed. I have not heard it any more than 752 times. So I think they need to talk about it more. But the Giants are bad. And I know people, there are some people out there that want, that they want Brian Daboll here. I get it. I understand. But, the one question that I would ask about Brian Daboll, was it Brian Daboll or was it Josh Allen? I don't know the answer to that. And I know he helped Allen, but who's to say that Allen would not have developed anyway if it was another offensive coordinator? I think we all just chalk it up and say, oh, well, Josh Allen got way better and Brian Daboll. Everybody was going bananas about, Daboll, Daniel Jones, Daboll's first year. Daniel Jones has been great. 15 touchdowns, 5 picks, okay? They just kept it away from him for the most part. So I know people are all like, they're getting all hot and bothered about Daboll getting fired in New York, and maybe he's the answer here at OC. I don't know. It's not like he's done great things in New York. And Josh Allen looks just fine without Daboll. So, again, I'm not telling you either way. What I'm saying is we don't know unequivocally if Brian Daboll is the reason why Josh Allen turned the corner. It could have been just his own development. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But they're getting the first pick because they suck.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. There's a big problem with one particular sport, and that problem reared its ugly head again this week. We'll get to that coming up. It's Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Up. This new Kendrick album is ridiculous.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I go as far as saying really good.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Well, stream lightly. You might get sued.
Yeah, so that was.
Hey!
I'm just trying to get my timeline lined up. So
a shot at Drake out there.
the lawsuits were after the album came out, right?
Yes. Well, at least the story came out of the lawsuit. I don't know if it was filed technically before the album was out, but
so he didn't reference it in the album. Kendrick didn't.
No.
Because I want to hear him rip Drake for that.
It's embarrassing.
So we got to wait for the next
Super embarrassing.
next album.
the man's sued. Oh my goodness. Quick thing here. I want to get to the latest on Juan Soto because if you were busy eating turkey and hanging out with the family yesterday, I get it. If you were busy with family stuff yesterday during the holiday, at least on X, Twitter, whatever we call it, there was a lot of Juan Soto stuff happening yesterday about the Red Sox and Soto. So we're going to get to that. But I first want to talk about this for a minute. And it's Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy on this Friday morning. So Blake Snell signs with L.A. during the week. And Alex, it's just more deferred money. The Dodgers, this is from, is it Spotrac? How do we pronounce that? The contract website.
Spotrac.
All right, I go with Spotrac, but I'll go with Spotrac for you. Spotrac.
Because I thought it's supposed to be a contract.
Yeah,
same.
Makes sense. All right, so Spotrac posted on the deferrals from L.A. The Dodgers have now secured $964 million of deferred payments since July of 2020. Shohei Ohtani, 680 of the 700. Mookie Betts, 115 of the 365. This Blake Snell deal, 62 of the 182. Freddie Freeman, 57 of the 162. Will Smith, 50 of the 140. Barth, this is outrageous.
It's nuts. When's Bobby Bonilla Day again? It's not his day. It's July 1st. It's not his day anymore. He's going to have to share it, assuming those all come in on July 1st. No, it's insane. And this is always a point of topic. And does Major League Baseball need a salary cap or some more prohibitive spending? I know that they put some regulations in with the luxury tax type of deal that involves draft picks and international pool money. Well, that only seems to be stopping the Boston Red Sox. Nobody else really cares about it. So is there ever going to be a salary cap in baseball? No, because the union will just never allow that to happen. These guys are making too much money.
Yeah.
They missed the boat on that 20, 30 years ago. But something at a certain point has to happen because it's getting out of control. And maybe it's eliminating that deferred money. Maybe it's finding a way around that because if teams can do that, with inflation, those contracts are, and just the general inflation of sports contracts, not trying to get political, that money's going to be nothing in 30 years. It's going to be chump change. So there has to be some sort of answer because this is a loophole that 5 or 6 teams have the resources to take advantage of. Only 2 or 3 of them realistically will, and it's going to forever shift the power balance in the sport.
Yeah, the combination of no cap and no limits on these deferrals. I mean, you've got the Dodgers building the Monstars because they're just taking advantage. And I'm not blaming L.A.
No, good for them.
Take advantage. Take advantage of it. This is baseball's problem. Can't allow it to happen. All right, we'll have the very latest on Juan Soto and the Red Sox coming up in 90 seconds.
From the Towns Fair Tire Studios, the Patriots.
Into the end zone.
Touchdown for the Patriots.
WBC FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
The latest official report on Juan Soto, Jeff Passan, this was yesterday afternoon. Juan Soto has not agreed to any contract, which means you can get off Twitter, spend the holiday with your family. That's what Passan tweeted yesterday. As the NFL was going on, I think that was right around that dramatic ending to the Bears-Lions game. The Bears failing to get a playoff in the final seconds, allowing the Lions to win 23-20. Meanwhile, the Cowboys held off the Giants 27-20, and then the Packers all over the Dolphins last night 30-17 at Lambeau. More NFL action today. You got a Black Friday game as the Chiefs host the Raiders at 3 o'clock. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they play on Sunday. They host the Colts. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff for that one. Final game before the bye. Bruins back at it tonight at home hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins. Coverage of that one starts at 6 o'clock right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Celtics They visit the Chicago Bulls. Coverage starts at 7:30 on our sister station, 105.7 WROR. Sean Grandy and Brian Robb will have the call. The Celtics can use this game. It's the final NBA Cup group stage game. They can use it to advance the quarterfinals. They might need some help depending on the scoring margin. The help would come earlier in the day in the 2:30 game between the Cleveland Cavaliers and Atlanta Hawks. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Albrecht Auto Group, Zoe's Auto Dealer. Get respected Albrecht with 7 locations and thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles. Get the right vehicle at the right price now at albrechtauto.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Hey, if your alarm clock sounds like this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, The Sports Hub.
No Toucher, no Hardy, no Wallach. Nick Cattles, Alex Barth with you on the Black Friday morning edition of Toucher and Hardy. George and Jamelli behind the glass, helping us with the program. So, I don't know how many of you were paying attention to Twitter yesterday, Twitter last night. Probably not many of you. I would not have been paying attention to social media if I was not working this shift today. So, I don't blame you. I get it. But there was a lot of stuff floating around yesterday about Juan Soto and the Red Sox. It was a busy, busy day regarding the Sox and Soto. Or maybe it wasn't a busy, busy day. Let me run through all of this, Alex, and I will go in sequential order of what was being tweeted out. It began with Beyond Average Mick, who is known through Kirk Minahan. He actually broke the Jim Montgomery firing news going back a week or so ago. So he tweets out, breaking news. The Red Sox have signed Juan Soto. The terms of the deal are still unknown, but I'm hearing it's 12 years with no deferred money. Expect an official announcement to come within the next few days. A couple of hours after that, Mick doubled down. He tweeted out, I stand by my report. He's a Red Sox. Our friend Jared Carabas, he posted, I've seen the Mick report. Don't know if it's true. Just over here trying to eat dessert early and fantasize about Juan Soto on my baseball team. Then you've got Mike Rodriguez. I don't know Mike Rodriguez from a hole in the wall, but he has 37,000 followers. He's apparently an insider. He's a broadcaster. A former Cubs analyst in Espanol. And he tweeted out, I just finished a call, and sources from Boston inform me that Soto spoke for over an hour with Rafael Devers about the team. There's a 12-year offer for around $50 million per season, and Juan Soto is interested in the idea of going to the Sox. Currently, the Sox are a strong contender for the outfielder. Hector Gomez, that's a name that I think a lot of people know by now, from Z101 Digital. He actually quote tweeted that tweet from Mike Rodriguez and tweeted that he's hearing that the offer for Soto from the Sox is 13 years, $625 million. Then Jeff Passan, because everybody was waiting for Passan, right? Everybody was sitting back waiting for Jeff Passan to weigh in on this. So Passan posts, I am thankful for reporters who don't make up stories. I am also thankful that Juan Soto has not agreed to any contract, which means you can get off Twitter and go spend the holiday with your family. Happy Thanksgiving. Mick comes back and quote tweets Passan, don't be a bleep hole because you got caught with your pants down. Soto to Boston. Alex Barth, do you think Juan Soto will be a Red Sox?
No.
Why?
I just don't think they'll put the money on the table, and I think there are teams that are willing to outbid them, and maybe they have the best offer right now. I think maybe that's how some of those numbers get out there. It's messaging to the Yankees and the Mets that this is what you have to contend with. This is what you have to top. It's just one of those things where I've heard this team be close so many times on these big players over the last few years that I'll believe it when I see it.
I think they're seriously chasing Soto. I think they're serious about this.
I think they're serious for what they consider serious.
If the offer is over $600 million for 13 years, that's as serious as you can get. A lot of people were saying, between 6 to 650 was going to be the cost of doing business, that if you didn't put $600 million on the table, you weren't being serious. So if Hector Gomez is correct, and we're looking at, 13 years for $625 or whatever it is, that's a serious offer. That's a legitimate, we want you offer. That is, we want to contend. We're showing up. We're putting this on the table. This isn't, we were close or we were interested. I do think that the Red Sox are as serious on Soto as they've been on a free agent in a long time.
I'd agree with that.
I still think he ends up in New York. Whether it's the Yankees or the Mets, I don't know. But I still think he ends up in New York. But I do think the Red Sox have more of a shot at Soto than people are giving them. And I think it's because of what you said, Alex. And look, I can't blame anybody. I can't blame you. I can't blame anybody going, we've been through this before. The interest kings. Here we go. I get it. But number one, to me, there's just way too much smoke. This isn't coming from one person. This isn't coming from one person who's trying to do favors for the Red Sox. This is coming across from everybody. Passan has said that, they're serious about this. Everybody, Ken Rosenthal has said they're serious about this. All the local people. Everybody is telling you that this isn't some kind of PR charade. So when there's this much smoke, I have to imagine that they are involved at the highest level. It reminds me of the Alex Rodriguez talks and the Mark Teixeira talks from back in the day when John Henry was here at first. So I do think they're trying to get it done. And I think they're trying to get it done, Alex, because it's a different situation now. I know a lot of people want to go back to the last few years, but look, your farm system's better. Your young core is now, here. And I'm going to say something. It's going to probably trigger some of you. But they have money. And I know they've always had money. But they have like $70 to $75 million of wiggle room without even touching the tax. So given those circumstances, I think they're serious.
Yeah, I mean, and if they want to make good with the fans, this would be a way to do it. Is that big splash signing we've all been waiting for, and not, okay, well, this is a big name, but maybe he's not the player that it lives up to that name, or the older guy, something like that. No, this is a legitimate, bona fide superstar. Is this their final offer? Because I think when these things get put out there, it's the agent looking for more money.
Yeah.
And are the Red Sox going to continue to bid? You're right. The what was it, 13,625 from Hector Gomez, 12,625, whatever that is.
13,625.
That's a big boy offer.
Yep.
That's an adult offer.
Yep.
Is that the offer that gets it done?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't think so. The fact that number's out there, I don't think so. And are the Red Sox willing to go above that?
And what I wonder is, there's been different things reported about Soto, and there's been different things reported about Steve Cohen. This idea that he's willing to, dump tens of millions of dollars more than anybody else. The Yankees have been kind of lukewarm with their public comments from Steinbrenner, but how much do you believe in that? It really comes down to, if it's going to be a money thing, it feels like it's going to be Cohen, because he's going to do whatever it takes to get him to the Mets, right? So if it comes down to strictly money, then it feels like Cohen. But if it does come down to other things, like if you read these reports, and I'm talking about from the legitimate, Jeff Passans of the world, Soto is focused on how good is your team going to be for the next several years. He's going into these meetings. Now, I don't think he's studying Roman Anthony's stats and going, I got to play with Roman Anthony. But he does seem to care about teams that are going to contend for a long-term window. And if he does care about that, the Red Sox are set as good as anybody. Now, they need to go out and get a starter. We know that. They need to get a guy who, top of the rotation. Get me Max Fried. Get me somebody you can put at the top of the rotation. We all understand that. But if you're sitting down with Soto, and this is what the Red Sox reportedly sold him on, hey, look at the farm system. these guys, Campbell and Anthony and Teal and Maye, at least two of those guys are going to be up, within the next, first few months of the season. And we've got the young core with, Cedar Rafaela and Abreu and Duran. And you're going to be the superstar, the face of this organization. You're going to be on the billboards. You're going to be the guy. And you have a bunch of young guys that are going to play hard and follow your footsteps. That could be sexy to Soto. If Soto does care about being the face of the franchise and cares about contending for the next 8 to 10 years, then maybe he says, I'll take a little less money if it comes to that. I think, though, Alex, and I'm sure you would agree, if the Red Sox signed Juan Soto, I mean, this would be just landscape changing for this organization.
It would be monumental.
Yep.
Absolutely monumental. Because this is the Boston Red Sox that it would be back to the Boston Red Sox that I grew up watching. They'd be a big market team again, which is all anybody's asking for at this point. The bar's been lowered so low, it's like, just try.
I mean, we're talking about a guy who's generational.
Right. Just try and compete. And when's the last time they made a move? They've made a move coming close. It's probably got to go back to what? David Price? And how'd that work out? So to me, though, it then becomes about, like, what are you doing on top of that, right? Because like you said, they still need pitching.
Yeah.
You got a lineup full of lefties. Does Tristan Casas get dealt? What happens with Masataka Yoshida? Do they get one of these starters in free agency?
Are you really moving Devers from third? Are you going
Right.
to are you even entertaining the idea of playing him at first, or are you just going to go strictly DH, and then that leads you to the Yoshida stuff?
Well, let me ask you
rid of him?
this, because I've gone back and forth on this. This legitimate question, not trying to set up a take. Legitimate question. You add Juan Soto to this team.
Yeah.
You make no other changes. Are they a playoff team this year?
I could see them get to the wild card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think they're in it.
Yeah.
They're definitely in it. They're in the mix.
If you add him in an ace, if you add him and Fried or him and Burns.
Oh, well, now you're talking about a team that can win the division,
yeah,
obviously.
Now we're cooking.
And look, and that's Sam Kennedy came out, and I know people, again, I understand. I understand all of your caution and your hesitancy. I get it, and it's well deserved. It's earned. But Kennedy came out and he told the Globe, we want to win the division. We want to win. We're looking at being a legitimate division-winning, contending team. So it's not just Soto. It's more than that.
Well, remember then John Henry said that it's unrealistic to expect a World Series more than once every 30 years.
Now, why do you have to do that? Talking about Soto, I'm a little bit excited. I'm trying to look forward.
Love averages it.
You're gonna remind me of that crap.
I hate to be that guy, but I'm not allowing them to hurt me again. I'm not. I'm just not.
Wet blanket Barth. Wet blanket Barth on Black Friday morning. 617-779-0985. Do you believe the Red Sox are seriously after Juan Soto and this thing has a shot? Let's go to Justin in Boston. Hey, Justin.
Hey, good morning, guys. First, I want to thank you for working today so we don't have to listen to syndicated radio all day. So appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Happy to do it.
So one of the things that I saw on Twitter yesterday, and I think it's a good point, I forgot who had mentioned it. If we get to the number that Soto and Boris want, and while I'm super skeptical that the Red Sox actually closed the deal, Soto's the guy. And Cattles, you just talked about this briefly. Soto would be the guy with the Red Sox. Lindor's the leader of the Mets. Judge is the leader of the Yankees, and the Dodgers have a multitude of guys. So he will always be in the shadow of somebody else. Rafi Devers isn't that guy. I think we've seen that over the last couple of years as he's tried to transition into that role. He's just not that guy. So I think if Soto wants to play and he wants to be a leader of an organization, he has the opportunity to do it here. So I just welcome your comments on that.
All right,
Thanks,
Justin,
guys.
thank you. I appreciate you, buddy. Yeah, look, I agree with pretty much everything you said, Justin. Devers is not that guy. I love Rafi, but he's not the guy. He's not super comfortable being the voice in the clubhouse. He's not super comfortable. He's not always the best at taking accountability and getting in front of the cameras, and some of that is the language barrier. Some of it is just his personality. He leaned on Xander for that stuff when Xander was here. So I agree with you. And look, that is a part of this. I'm not telling you that it's gonna make Soto take $30 million less if Steve Cohen walks in and says, I'm dropping the bank on your lap, right? But it's part of it. And I do think the Dominican, connection is part of it with the Red Sox in the history. And I do think the David Ortiz thing is part of it. I still think he ends up in New York. But when you start stacking all of these different parts together, Alex, it does make you feel that they have at least a chance to bring this guy in. And if they do it, I think that one move, even though it will not make you the AL East favorite, that one move will trigger a domino effect across Boston and New England of Red Sox fans starting to believe again and go, oh, wait a minute. Okay, this ain't Yamamoto. This ain't the other free agents we heard. They just landed Juan freaking Soto. And I think you have almost immediate buy-in.
Well, so I go back to Buster Olney tweeted this Wednesday morning, which I thought was a little eye-popping. And Olney's another guy. He's right up there with passing. Like when they put it out there, you listen. One market factor that shifts cyclically is how some teams become preferred destinations for players, while other teams lose ground in the perception game. Boston is aggressive with dollars now, but the Red Sox will have to pay extra to overcome a negative player perception that really started growing when the team wouldn't pay Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
So this if they could sign Soto, it undoes a lot of damage. And going forward, they're going to become a more realistic destination. It resets the view of the organization. Now, they have to be able to capitalize on that view and not just say, there, we signed Juan Soto, fans, leave us alone, we're done. Like, you got to continue to build on that. But it certainly resets the way I think the organization is viewed, just not even with the fans, just around the league, players, agents, other teams. And that holds a ton of meaning.
617-779-0985. Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy on this Friday morning. We'll continue with your thoughts on Juan Soto and the Red Sox. Also, getting some Patriots in that wide receiver room. It's coming up next.
Zach Hardy.
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
One of my favorite hip-hop songs of all time. This. Right up near the top. I'm not Toucher, if you haven't noticed. He's not Hardy. He's Alex Barth. Gemelli. Well, he's Gemelli. George's not Adam 12. But happy you can join all of us on this Black Friday morning. Hopefully you had a fantastic Thanksgiving yesterday. I want to get the Patriots wide receiver room in a minute. But first, we were talking about Juan Soto and the Red Sox. Pat and Franklin has a thought. What's up, Pat?
Hey, boys. You're getting all the ears of the whole nation right now.
You're making me nervous.
Barthy, I'm sorry I was a little mean to you yesterday about replacing all the coaches on the Patriots staff. It's my bad.
You asked a question. That's fine.
So listen. They know they need to do this, man. Like, I'm 52. Like, the Red Sox had stars ever since I grew up. Jim Rice, Pedro. I would drive from Hopkinton, get an $8 standing room ticket, watch Clemens every start.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did. Like, they need a star, man. I don't have Nesson. I got kids. I'm not spending $35 a month to watch Nesson with a team that stinks.
Yeah.
They need studs. I think they know this.
Yeah.
And it's time.
Pat,
Get this guy.
let me jump in. I appreciate the phone call, bud. I think that's a huge, huge motivator here. And look, I don't agree with Henry not spending money over the last several years, obviously. I think you can build your farm system and spend when you're the Red Sox. I don't think it's an either-or proposition. But if he goes out there and he signs a Juan Soto, the feeling around this team is completely different. The ballpark vibe is completely different. It changes everything. I mean, I remember watching Petey, right? I mean, I remember watching him and, what he did every 5 days and how Fenway was when he was on that mound. And we remember Ortiz during, his best years, and Manny when people weren't frustrated and tired of him. It's just a different feel. And Soto would bring that. All right, let's get to the wide receiver room, Alex.
Sure.
We haven't talked Patriots yet. We're going to talk a lot of Patriots over the next couple of hours. We all know the wide receiver room has not been good enough. Captain Obvious just walked into the room. Polk, Baker.
You got any other big takes there, Nick?
Yeah. Drake May's been pretty good.
Patrick Mahomes, that guy can sling it.
Mahomes is a good quarterback, Barth. He's a good quarterback. So Polk, Baker, lack of production, lack of snaps, lack of everything so far.
Yep.
KJ Osborne's been a miss. Even Pop Douglas has been making some mistakes. Bourne, mistakes, and then he's benched. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, he's been in and out. But is there a bigger issue than just, production? The mentality and the maturity of this room. And I ask you that because, again, Jalen Polk this week goes to Instagram. And he has to post a picture of a bunch of sheep, and then there's one black sheep in the middle. I don't know how many people have seen the picture, but obviously Jalen Polk making the point that he's the black sheep. Is it getting to the point now, even just aside from the production? I mean, if you had the production, you might be able to deal with this. But from a maturity approach standpoint, it feels like the Patriots have to change a lot of this room.
Well, to borrow a line from Big Jim Murray, because I think it's a good one, the ratio of ego to talent in that room is way off. I have no problem with diva receivers, Nick, because I think you got to be kind of cocky and kind of confident to play that position. Of the guys that really played at a high level, how many of them really just put their head down and work and aren't, a little eccentric? They don't make them like Larry Fitzgerald anymore.
No.
But part of that is the production has to come with it. Like, I'll take a guy being totally into himself and vocal and all that if he's going out there putting up 6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown every Sunday.
Can you have a group of those guys, I wonder?
If they're all good, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But it's just a matter of talent. Like talent carries that. So they don't They're not. Let me put it this way: if Jalen Polk was producing, if Jalen Polk was putting up Lad McConkey numbers, Patriots fans would love it. Because you know that they'd be looking at it, maybe rightfully so, say, well, he's underrated and black sheep in the league. Nobody wants to pay attention. It's like talk your talk. Yeah.
Right.
Because when you're good, you get to do that. So I don't have a problem with the attitude, but it's when the production doesn't line up and the inverse.
Shouldn't you have a problem with some of the attitude and some of the maturity level because the production is not there? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, to have that kind of personality is fine, like you're saying, but when you're not producing, you've got to have some humility.
I think it's maybe indicative of a lack of focus.
I go back to Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
The most important thing that I've heard Brad Stevens say, it was after the Celtics, Game 5 last year, they beat the Mavs. He's sitting on the dais, on the home floor, NBA TV, post-game interview. And they asked him, like, how do you know? You've got all of these stars on this team. How do you know that they can coexist? And Steven said the first thing we look for is self-awareness. Yes, talent is great and all, but we want self-aware people. Because if people are self-aware on the team, a lot of the other things take care of themselves. And I think there's too many people in that wide receiver room that lack self-awareness. And so the reason why I asked the question, it's obvious. If they're not producing, yes, Nick, you need to change the room. But I've been on this kick. It's almost like a self-realization from my own point of view. I believe Jalen Polk's a good football player. Has he shown it? Absolutely freaking not. And I've said, like, well, maybe it'll take him until 2025. But if you want to wait on Polk and Baker, not to be 1 and 2 on your team, but to produce, that's one thing. But their level of maturity and how they handle certain things, do you want to keep them for 2025? Is that going to get in the way? Or if you go out and you do find an alpha like T. Higgins, does that change the math?
Well, I think having a guy like that knocks everybody down a peg certainly changes the dynamic in the room. Polk's going to be on this team next year.
Yeah.
Like second-round pick, he's not going anywhere.
I agree.
I think getting that alpha, getting a T. Higgins, getting a DK Metcalf kind of player does change the dynamic because right now there's nobody to look at and say, yeah, I got to fall in line behind that guy. So I think that way, especially for young guys, that does change it. And KJ Osborne, it felt like was supposed to be that guy just based on the way they talked about him and all that. Like and Kendrick Bourne to an extent, the veteran voice in the room. I think Bourne's done a good job of it, but it's tough to do when you're not on the field, and he wasn't on the field for the first few months going back to training camp. Osborne obviously came nowhere close. He has been, complicit in that with the call me celebration and posting his conversations on social media. But they need somebody in there to set the tone in that room. They don't have that guy right now.
And you got to look at the wide receiver coach too, Tyler Hughes. What is he doing? What is he not doing? Cattles, Barth, in for Toucher and Hardy on this Friday morning. We'll talk Drake Maye next.
Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy
That's what I want on my tombstone.
on the Sports Hub.
Mistakes, the turnovers.
Yeah, the turnovers, they have to stop. I mean, there's no excuses there. Rookie, 10-year player, vet, doesn't matter. We can't turn the ball over and expect to win games. So that's definitely an area of emphasis for us. With Drake, he just continues to develop. You forget sometimes that he is a rookie. There's some mistakes that he'll make just from experience, that he just gets more reps into certain plays and understanding the concepts. But, he can.
So we look at Drake Maye, and Alex, he's got 11 turnovers in his first 7 starts, and of course he played like 1 quarter,
6 1/4, yeah.
One of those starts against the Jets, which was the game I went to, because of course the game I went to as a fan, he's out after the first quarter. So, ta-da! At least they won. Last year I went to the Saints game. Woof. So 7 picks, 4 fumbles lost. How concerned are you?
I'm not concerned right now. But it would be big to see progress in this regard down the stretch here at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because the rate he's turning the ball over at is not sustainable. He's essentially turning the ball over twice a game. Now, he's a rookie. He's essentially started 6 games, or I could say he's played 6 full games. Progress is going to take more than that. But when you hear Alex Van Pelt come out and say it as bluntly as he did on Tuesday or on Wednesday, after last week he gave us a number. Last week he came out and said, if he can keep it under 10 interceptions. And that doesn't address the fumbles. But he said, if he can keep it under 10 interceptions by the end of the season, you'd feel good about that. And it's, I think, a very fair number.
Right.
And then he comes out this week and says they have to stop. Clearly it's something that they're focused on inside the building. And I think part of the reason is, as you go into year 2, right, they're gonna add to the offense. They're going to develop the offense. They're going to keep working on this. How much of a factor is the turnover issue going to be? If you could put that to bed here down the stretch, 5 games left. Let's say he keeps it to 5 or fewer turnovers, a rate at 1 a game. Well, now you go into the offseason, you say, all right, we feel you're not thinking about it as much. Let's really build this offense out. Let's get more creative. But if it's 2 turnovers a game all the way through, do you have to keep the training wheels on a little bit? Does that become more of a focus instead of hitting that next step of development?
Right.
I wouldn't say he's behind schedule.
No.
But the fact that they're talking about it like that and just looking at the way some of these quarterbacks develop, and let me be clear here, it's less in the turnovers. The number doesn't have to be 0. That's unrealistic. He plays the quarterback position in a very high-octane way, and the other guys that play the position this way, turnovers happen. Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers every year. But it's not 2 a game. So the numbers just got to come down a little bit. And if he can do that, I think you feel really good about where he's at, because I don't look at any other element of his game. There are places he can get better. The accuracy can get better, right? But I don't look at any element of his game and think that's disqualifying.
No.
Oh, that's going to get him in big trouble. If the turnovers come down, you feel really good about where Drake Maye's at going into year 2.
I'm not too concerned yet. I mean, he's 22 years old. Not a ton of football experience. I don't think all of these turnovers have been on him. I mean, when you get a quick pressure and you get a blindside hit and you fumble, okay, I get it. If you have a miscommunication with your wide receiver, that happens. I would split it this way. There's a difference. Not all turnovers are the same. There's a difference between trust your talent turnovers and careless turnovers. I don't mind the trust your talent turnovers. I don't mind. I'm going to try to zip the football in a tight window because I think I can make that throw and not many other dudes can make that throw. And yes, every once in a while I'm going to screw up and throw a pick because of that. But other times I'm going to make the damn throw and it's going to end up a touchdown. I can live with the trust your talent turnovers, the careless stuff. Like last week, the fumble, inexcusable. You see the rush, it's coming at you, and he's just holding the football, tuck it, turtle up, go down, take the sack, live to see another day. It's those careless turnovers that he has to do a better job of staying away from. If he does that, then I think he'll be fine. And I think people fall into this trap of he's trying to do too much and they're asking him to do. We all agree. He is being asked to do way too much.
So I said this after the Titans game, and I've only felt stronger about this take since. Coming away from the Titans game, my big thought was, doesn't Drake Maye's play just scream an inner monologue of fine, I guess I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
I guess I have to do it myself. And
Yes.
I think that's where a lot of the turnovers come from. So, fixing the personnel, to your point, yeah, last week on the fumble, Vidarian Lowe gets beat clean. He has a rusher right in his face. But at the same time, when there's a rusher right in your face, there's a lot of things you can do. He has the athleticism. He can spin out of that. He can get away. He can throw the ball away. He can take the sack. Pretty much the one thing he can't do is stiff arm a 300-pound defensive tackle with your offhand. And he said as much after the game. Like, this is not me ripping him. He said that in so many words after the game. So what I'm worried about, and Van Pelt talked about this too, he was asked if he's worried, with facing so much pressure and immediate pressure, unblocked rushers, if there's a concern about Drake Maye maybe developing some bad habits. And Van Pelt said that can be a concern in those situations. So that's where I'm at. Like, the talent improving around him is going to bring the turnover number down. But just for the rest of this season, can you get him in a place where he's not developing bad habits because of it, and he doesn't feel like the entire franchise has to be on his shoulders with every snap?
He's Barth. I'm Cattles in for Toucher and Hardy on this Friday morning, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
There's no better place to bet on the NFL than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Let's build the same game parlay for Sunday's matchup. Patriots hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Let's go Anthony Richardson under passing yards. You got to hope for that if you're a Patriots fan. Ramon Stevenson, anytime touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, anytime touchdown. There you go. You got one. Just visit FanDuel.com/Fred to make every moment more this season. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
21 plus.
Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy on this Friday morning. How are ya? I'm really looking forward to later today. Really looking forward to it. So I worked on Wednesday night, worked this morning, so I, let's just say, did not go bananas for Thanksgiving. So later today, the wife and I, we're going to go brewery hopping. And there's going to be some bananas happen.
There you go.
Can't wait for it. We're going to Uber. And when the wife and I, we decide to do the whole Uber brewery hopping thing, I think it's going to get pretty real today.
Get after
Barth.
it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Going to get after it a little bit. I can't get after it as much as I used to. I know I'm going to sound like the old guy on the front lawn, but
nobody's judging. Nobody's counting drinks.
Nah,
here.
man. Like once you
get after it for what's getting after it for you.
Once you hit like 35, you start losing the fastball a little bit. And my brother warned me about it, and I was like, yeah, right. You're just doing the old guy thing, the older brother thing. But he was right. I woke up when I turned 35, and I just felt different. And it's not people think about like it's not the hangover. It's like the second day hangover. Like as you get older, hangovers go into hangovers.
Or the delayed hangover.
Yeah, like
this. That's no fun because you think you beat it.
Yeah,
and then
it sneaks up
like
on you.
Noon. You know, I'm gonna have a full day today. This is great. Nope.
It's like a nasty ass ninja just sneaking up on you. That second day, third day. Hey, some of my friends have like a third day hangover. I'm like, well, I'm not going that hard. But it's rough.
About that.
It's rough out there in them streets. All right. So before we get back to the Patriots, Alex, do you remember the Kevin Garnett, Carmelo Anthony beef?
Of course.
Yeah. So it's forever known as the Honey Nut Cheerios beef, I think, right? Yeah. That's what we call it, the Honey Nut Cheerios beef. So Carmelo and Amon Shumpert, and apparently Rudy Gay was on this episode, but they have a podcast. It's called 7 p.m. in Brooklyn. And Melo and Shumpert actually told us what happened that day on the floor between Garnett and Carmelo, and whether or not Garnett actually said what people said he said at the time and has become legend.
That they thought was said, it wasn't said.
It wasn't even funny. Why would they think dude would get that mad if he said your wife tastes like honey nut?
Come on.
It was just like that's.
I'll tell you what it was.
Not even good.
It was like the beginning of NBA Twitter, really. Like NBA Twitter was still very
but
early.
At least say
people were
frosted
saying
Cheerios, something that's banging. Like, why would he pick honey nut Cheerios? That's what was tweaking me out. Like,
why would he pick that?
I was just like, out of the insults that y'all could do, is y'all trying to promote a cereal brand with this?
Yeah, that's wild, yo. At that moment, he crossed the line.
So Amon Shumpert and Carmelo say KG never said Honey Nut Cheerio. He never said Honey Nut Cheerios. He apparently told Melo that he smelled like something. And that's kind of where it set it off. I thought Amon Shumpert was funny. So, look, this like you all could check this out. Go to YouTube and everything. It's like a 6.5 minute clip. So Shumpert tells the story of, okay, so that happens. And Melo is like, at that point, he's just angry. And Melo sat down with like a few minutes left in the game. He couldn't focus. They said he went, to the sideline. They were having a huddle during a timeout, and Melo wasn't even paying attention to the play call. He was just singularly focused on Kevin Garnett. So they tell this story of they go out, and the game's over, and Shumpert goes in the locker room, and Melo is already dressed. And Shumpert's like, that's not how he used to do it. Like he would get like showered and put all like the nice clothes on. And Shumpert's like, this dude had like his game socks still on. He just put clothes on because he wanted to go find Garnett.
Yeah, well, wasn't part of the story that Melo threatened to like meet him at the bus or something?
So yeah, so Melo is sitting. The way Shumpert tells the story is Melo is like sitting, waiting, knowing that the Celtics are coming out a certain way, and he's waiting. And so what's even funnier about that exchange you just heard is that Shumpert he's describing how serious Melo was, and Melo's confirming it. Like, yeah, I was pissed. I wanted to fight Garnett, right? And so they're telling you how serious Melo took all of this. Like, he was absolutely triggered by KG. And so he's sitting outside waiting. And then KG comes out. And what KG does is what makes it truly even more hilarious.
All I see is KG walking. It's fire security. KG like, Melo, over basketball.
Now, Shumpert does like a shooting motion, and there's actually video. TMZ has this video proving this story to be true of Garnett. So Garnett's got, like, they're going, Melo's like yelling at him, and they're trying to get on the team bus. And KG's like, over basketball? Like, you're mad, you're this mad over basketball? And
over basketball!
That made Melo even more angry. And Shumpert at that point said he was like laughing. But that made Melo even more angry because Garnett was like, dude, you're that angry over what we're talking about on the floor?
Right.
And Melo told the story of, they got to the All-Star game that year, and he wanted to talk to KG about it and iron things out. And they asked him, like, so did you ever sit down with KG? He's like, no, that conversation never happened. So they're going to try to get him on the pod. If they get him on the podcast, oh, my God. Get him on the podcast. I want to hear KG's side of this. Oh, my God. By the way, quickly, do you care about the NBA Cup? I don't care.
I don't care about the outcome. I
don't care. Like, you're doing the headlines today, and it's like, well, the Celtics, if this happens earlier in the day, I find like I can't keep track of it. I have no investment as a fan, as a media person. Like, the players get money, that's great.
Yeah.
But what's it mean to me?
So I'll say this, like, especially with this Celtics team being such a wagon, and let's be honest, we're all looking at our watches waiting for the playoffs to start.
Yes.
Right. All right. So there's a little something at stake here, and you see the standings, and all right, it makes these early season games on their own a little more watchable. If I know there's a cup game, I might go out of my way to watch it a little bit more, follow it. But, do I care if the Celtics win it? Do I care which team wins it? No, not really. I don't care about the standings. I don't want them going all out and like risking guys getting hurt for this or anything like that. It's a nice little wrinkle for a league that has really done all it can to render the regular season irrelevant. It's a nice little way to fight back and give you some relevance there. But, if the Celtics don't advance, whatever. I'm not going to care. I'm not going to rip them for it. I'm not going to be disappointed. If anything, I think if you win it, you have to play is it 2 extra games?
I don't know.
To win the cup? I don't want to play
I
extra
don't
games.
care about it. Like,
I don't want to play. So, like, yeah, that to the extent that I care when the game is on and I'm watching it.
I think they all
a little more.
They all play 82. So I think what happens is if you play the cup games, you play the cup games. If not, then you play 2 other regular season games, right?
I think the Final Four, so the championship
I hate I'm even
game,
talking about this with you. I can't stand it.
What I hate is,
Does anybody care? George, do you care about the NBA Cup?
Well, I care about improving things. I would say, wouldn't it be nice if they face like the European winner?
You're killing
do,
me.
like a kind of a league?
Yes or no?
George,
nothing
yes
with the European.
Do
you care about the
teams.
cup or not?
I don't need to watch the Celtics beat FC Barcelona by 300 points.
Jamelli, do you care about the cup?
Care about.
Thumbs up or thumbs down? Do you care about the cup, Jamelli? No. See, Jamelli doesn't care. I don't care.
He's a decent human being.
How many Celtics fans care about the cup? I don't care. I'm not taking calls on it. It's a rhetorical question. Because I don't care. I do not care. The courts are obnoxious. The games are spread apart way too much. Knock it all out in 2 weeks. The point differential stuff makes my head get scrambled.
It is an extra game, by the way, if you make the championship.
Yeah, I don't care. Okay, so good. So, I don't want the Celtics to advance then, I guess. I don't need an extra game. All right, we'll get to the Patriots. Cattles and Barth in for Toucher and Hardy. This is a question I want to ask Patriots fans. Do you think that too many people in the media are protecting Gerard Mayo's performance so far as the head coach of this football team? We'll get to that in 90 seconds.
Play. Your home of the pass. 98.5 Into the end zone. Sports Hub, Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
3 games in the NFL yesterday for Thanksgiving, starting with the dramatic ending between the Bears and the Lions. The Bears couldn't get a snap off in time late. They were able to only get one play with 16 seconds on the clock. They fell 23-20. The Cowboys then held off the Giants for a 27-20 win in the middle window, and the Packers beat the Dolphins 30-17 last night. Another game on today, Black Friday matchup between the Chiefs and Raiders. The Patriots, they play on Sunday, 1 o'clock. They host the Colts. Bruins back at it tonight. They host the Pittsburgh Penguins. Coverage of that one starts at 6 o'clock right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub with Judd and Bob. Celtics in action as well on the road taking on the Bulls. 7:30 coverage starts on 105.7 WROR. And it is a cup group stage game. So, Nick, get your pen ready. Get your pen and paper ready so you know what's at stake.
All right, hold on.
Tonight.
What do we got?
The Celtics may advance with an outright win. They may need help in the point differential. That comes down to what happens this afternoon.
Oh, all right.
In the 2:30 game between the Cavs and Hawks.
Okay, so I got to watch the Cavs and Hawks to find out what. See, I'm done.
That's actually a decent game.
Yeah, I know.
Independent of
but
everything.
still,
That's
it's Black
actually a
Friday. I told you I got plans.
I'll watch it for half an hour till. I'll watch it for half an hour.
Text me,
the football
Barth.
game's
Text me the score of the Bulls game later today, please.
Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Yankee Custom. Yankee Custom has everything you need to outfit your truck, van, or SUV. Yankee Custom has the largest retail inventory in New England with locations across New England. Visit YankeeCustomTruck.com. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
If you've got the app, you've got Toucher and Hardy to wake you up no matter where you are.
Who may or may not have been to jail.
Get the app, the 98.5 The Sports Hub app.
Fred, what's it like to work with Hardy and Wallace?
What a golden ticket I've gotten.
There you have it. Toucher on the Sports Hub.
Yeah, I mean, I don't question any of that stuff, as far as the players taking a butt kicking like that personally. Like, everyone in that locker room, we were down. Now, I'm not sure what that report is, but I'm not going to talk about that. I know the guys were disappointed.
Third hour of the program. No Toucher. Come on, you think Toucher's working Black Friday? When's the last time you think Toucher worked Black Friday? Maybe never. Do you think he's ever done it?
Yeah, Jameli says never.
Jameli said never? Yeah. How about Hardy? Hardy probably worked on Black Friday. 'Cause he had like 15 jobs up until he got the morning gig. So I'm sure he was doing something at Sirius XM or something. You know what I mean?
This is his first year here in the morning show program.
He was doing some kind of fakakta golf show or something. I don't know. He's doing like 150 jobs. Wallach, I don't know. Maybe. But it's Nick Cattles in, Alex Barth in for the guys this morning. George and Jameli behind the glass. So that, of course, was Gerard Mayo. There were some reports after the loss last weekend that the locker room was a little bit too light. The Patriots, as we know, they're now 3-9. If you pay attention to DVOA, and I don't know how many of you get wrapped up in DVOA, I do pay attention to it. The Patriots are 32nd in DVOA right now. Worst team in football. That's the first time since Week 7, Barth, of 1993 when the Patriots were dead-ass last in DVOA. And if you think that's bad, I'm sorry, but I'm going to make it even worse. The Patriots have faced the second easiest schedule up to this point in the NFL. So they are the worst team in DVOA with the second easiest schedule. 5 blowouts at the Jets, at the Niners, versus Houston, Jags in London, and then at Miami last weekend. I have seen and I have heard, Barth, a decent amount of, well, what did you expect when people talk about Gerard Mayo? When fans talk about Mayo, social media, what do you expect? Are people being too protective of Gerard Mayo by just chalking this up to, well, the roster isn't good enough, so we're just going to kind of let Mayo fly here?
Oh, that's definitely an element of it. And I think you get some of, and I know I get this, like, context is not necessarily
a strength.
Well, no, I would just say, like, from a media point of view, adding context is not necessarily a defense. So, like, for instance, the game in Jacksonville when they go for 2 down 9. and people were upset about that, right? You kick the extra point, you make it a one-score game, and some people like, why would they kick the two? Why would they go for two there, right? And I just kind of explained, you know, the idea is you're going to need it at some point. You go for it before. Now, I would have kicked it. I did not like that decision, but I explained kind of what this is the thought process behind it, and like that becomes defense to a lot of people when that's not what it was. So, look, the roster's not good, and it's easy to lose track of that as we're in it. I also think the big take at the beginning of the year was, can they just be better at the end than they were at the beginning?
Yeah.
Can they show progress? A lot of people point to Dan Campbell's first year with the Lions, where they were 0-10-1,
right, and
then won 3 of their last 6, and that kind of kicked off this run they're on now, where they might be the best team in football. So we still have this last month. I do think the roster factors into it. You look at the in-game decision making for me is the bigger issue when it comes to Gerard Mayo right now. Some of the in-game decision making, and when that I also mean like going into it with game plans and stuff like that. The culture management. How many of these guys are going to be here next year? Right, and there's not exactly a massive culture to build around right now.
It's a fair question because they did have a lot of turnover, especially on the offensive side last offseason. Now they're going to have even more turnover,
right,
it feels like, this offseason.
So that element of it, I know that annoys people. I'm not saying he's been great in that regard, but that isn't as much of an issue to me as it is just like, when I say Mayo, I mean the coaching staff as a whole. The game plans going in, hesitancy to change. In some cases, hesitancy to change the lineup. In other cases, I think being too quick to change the lineup.
Can I just say this? He hasn't been good. He hasn't been good. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm rooting for Gerard Mayo. I want Gerard Mayo to be successful. I want the Patriots to win as many games as possible. I enjoy watching good football. I enjoy watching winning football. He has not been good. Both things can be true.
Right.
The roster is not good. The coaching is not good. I mean, the coaching to me has cost this team at least 2, if not 3 wins. The Seattle game was more than winnable at home. You should have won. The Tennessee game, just the idea of starting Mike Owenu at right tackle and putting Layden Robinson against Jeffrey Simmons, that one decision
was ridiculous.
It ruined the first half of that football game. If you don't make that decision, I honestly believe you win that game in Tennessee.
I'm with you on that.
The first Miami game could have won that game. Yes, if Jalen Polk up both of his feet down completely and the NFL rules a little weird, that's another game.
But that goes back to coaching. You're running the ball for franchise record, 7.9 yards per carry. They had plenty of time left on the clock, and you throw the ball 4 times.
I just think people, and I agree with you, I just think people, they fall into these traps all the time of like, well, the roster's not good, so they're 3-9 because, of course, they're 3-9 because the roster's not good. There are things that are fully in control of Gerard Mayo and his responsibilities that he is failing at. Would you look at this team right now and say the operation is clean? No. Nobody would watch this. I don't care if you have a JV team out there. The operation is not clean. The discipline, the lack of discipline, the seemingly lack of preparation at times.
That's a big one.
Yeah, guys in wrong positions. Guys not correcting mistakes. Coaches not correcting mistakes. Clock management. Timeout usage. 4th down and go situations. You can have both, everybody. And it's not a good place to be at, obviously. But just because this roster is thin and they don't have a ton of talent should not absolve Gerard Mayo for bad decision-making and mediocre coaching. And one more thing I'll say, too. I know there's a learning curve. And Gerard Mayo can absolutely 100% unequivocally get better. And I hope he does. But I'm just telling you right now, at 3-9, what they've done through 12 weeks, from a coaching standpoint, aside from the talent, has not been nearly good enough.
Well, this is where last week is so frustrating because, to your point, they're all first-time head coach, right? There's going to be some bumps and bruises and some learning experience as you get going. 12 weeks into it, 11, 12 weeks into it, to have the coaching performance they had last week. I mean, the overall performance, really, but the coaching performance, like, where is the growth? You're playing a team for a second time. It's a divisional team. It's a team you know. And again, this when I say Gerard Mayo, this kind of applies to the whole coaching staff. it's a team that does things very similarly to the team you played the week before that just beat you. So you should see some improvements in that regard. That's why last week was so frustrating because, if he's having some issues with timeouts or game management early on, it's frustrating, but all right, rookie head coach. I don't know, 12 games in, you should start to see some improvement in that regard, and you haven't. To go back to the point about the Lions, right? It was on Felger and Maz on Wednesday, and Maz mentioned the early Parcells years where they kind of showed progress late in his first season and built up.
Right.
And that's what we all said coming into the season. What's a success?
Yep.
They're better at the end of the year than they are at the beginning.
And it's not, and I'm going to let you continue.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in and make sure. We're not just talking losses and we're not just talking wins.
No,
right?
we're talking the product on the field.
Because people will say, oh, well, if they win 4 or 5 games, everybody thought they'd win 4 or 5. But how do they win the 4 or 5 games? Are you getting blown out every week when you don't win? How competitive is this team and how have they improved?
And is there growth? Are they better
Right.
at the end than they were at the beginning? That was the big thing to me. And what would you say is their best game? What would you say is their most complete game this year?
I'd probably say Chicago.
So I would
maybe Cincy.
I would say Seattle.
Okay.
I think that was objectively their best. Knowing now not at the time it was Cincinnati. At the time of the game it was Cincinnati, obviously. But knowing what we know now about the Bengals, knowing what we know now about the Bears, right? Things like that. Seattle was probably their most complete game. That was week 2.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about growth and being better late in the season, if we get to the end of this thing and we say, yeah, they peaked in week 2, that's a really bad sign. Now, they have 5 games left. And if they can be a pain in the ass for the Bills, the Chargers, the Cardinals, like these playoff teams, if you can be a pain in the ass for those teams down the stretch, all right. And they don't even have to win. When I say pain in the ass, they don't even have to win. Look at what the Panthers did to the Chiefs last week. Something like that, right?
Compete.
Then if they do that 3 times in these last 5 games, okay, you're building towards something. Great. If we get to the end of the year and we look back and we say, yeah, their best game was week 2, that's not an encouraging sign when it comes to the operation.
And there's no excuse. There's no excuse for it. And we, the other thing that people are doing, and I've heard of this with Drake Maye as well. Like everybody, we look at the turnovers, we're like, well, Josh Allen had a lot of turnovers. Yes. I believe Drake Maye is going to be really good. I believe that before the draft. I believe that when they drafted him. I believe that today. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback in football within the next year or 2. But you just can't always go to the best example. You can't. Well, he has a lot of turnovers, but so did Josh Allen. Great.
For every Josh Allen, there's 10 Zach Wilson.
Correct. And so we can go to Dan Campbell. And I'm not writing off the idea that Gerard Mayo can be the next Dan Campbell. They can compete the final 5 games. They can end up with 5 wins, 4 or 5 wins, right? They beat the Colts this weekend. They win one of those, games out of the last 4. And you look at, 5-12, and they improved over the last 5 games like you and I are talking about. I leave the door open. I leave the door open for Gerard Mayo being the next Dan Campbell. That's completely possible. However, it's also completely possible. And if we're going to keep the door open for the Dan Campbell scenario, we also have to leave the door open to the scenario that, Gerard Mayo's not the next Dan Campbell. He just ends up being the next coach in a long line of coaches that were not good enough for the job. That can happen too. I don't know which one it's going to be. Through the first 12 weeks, I'll tell you, I'm not feeling very confident that it's going to be the Dan Campbell scenario. But it's possible, and I hope Gerard gets there. But we can't always say, well, Dan Campbell had a really slow start that first year, 3-13-1, and look what happened. Now Detroit's the best team in football. Well, yes, the roster got better. The coaching staff, Aaron Glenn, Ben John, those guys got better. A lot of things worked for Detroit. So you can't always go to the best example because many would tell you it's more probable, just looking at the numbers, that Gerard Mayo and this staff is not going to work out. So I don't want to just look at that and say, oh, the next Dan Campbell. I want your thoughts. 617-779-0985. Do you think too many people are excusing Gerard Mayo's performance as the head coach because of this roster? I think both can be true. So does Alex. You can have a lack of talent and bad coaching. 617-779-0985, 617-779-0985. Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy. We'll get to your phone calls. Also coming up, we'll talk more Drake Maye. Should we expect a huge weekend against Indianapolis?
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Get the Honda of your dreams during Happy Honda Day. morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
Oh, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
It's tough. Anytime you're losing, I think just, like I've always said, I hate losing more than, I really like to win. So, losing sucks. And I think, I told some guys inside, I just remember this feeling. I remember this feeling of, really getting our butts whooped today. And I think, it's only up from here. And we got a bright, a lot of bright future and bright players in there that are making plays for the Patriots.
Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in on Black Friday morning. Got about 90 minutes left of the show. Toucher, Hardy, Wallach enjoying their time off. Adam 12 enjoying his time off. We got George and Jamelli in the back. Jamelli, do you hang this over their heads that you work on these days and they're all off? Do you try to make them feel bad about this? Try to make them feel guilty at all?
No, absolutely not. And if I did, they wouldn't care.
That's true. They couldn't care less,
They couldn't
right?
care less, no.
I mean, you got a 2-year-old?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Look at this guy. He's got a 2-year-old.
Almost 2.
He's coming in to work Black Friday morning. Everybody else that he works with, off.
Yeah, because they pay better attention to their vacation times and whatever, and I don't.
That's probably a fair point.
Yeah.
You probably wasted a vacation day or two. You look back, you go, ah!
Yeah, I think I did, and which is fine. I enjoy coming into work whether they're here or not. So, like, I'm just going to pocket it and use it at the end of the year.
I'm sure you enjoy and love working with Alex Barth.
I do.
So it's all worth it.
Same to you.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you, Nick Jamelli. The only show regular who is here grinding it out on the Black Friday morning. It's a man who cares about his job. You hear that, Rick Radzik? It's a man that cares about his gig. All right, before we get to more about Drake Maye, let's go to Deshaun in Virginia, wants to talk Patriots. Hey, Deshaun.
Hello, guys. Good morning to y'all.
Good morning, bud.
I hear you guys talking about the comparisons when it comes to, Campbell's situation with Detroit Lions and stuff like that. But when it comes to the future of the Patriots, there's a way they can really get better. But when I was talking to Paul Pereira one time, when he disagreed about trading the players for, during the time it was the trade deadline, about just getting any kind of picks. And he was saying it wouldn't make sense, but the reason it doesn't make sense for the Patriots be having because they do such a poor job or atrocious job at evaluating talent. And there's been other teams that be able to find gems all across the board when it comes to that particular situation. Then when you look at it, too, that they have so much cap space, they have so many draft picks or whatever, so you can filter out the roster by doing it that way. And you get rid of the 25 to 30 guys probably going to be available in free agency, I guess, or whatever. You get rid of those guys and just shape out the roster that way. Because I was looking at, they can really get good really, really fast. Because if you think about it, they can get T. Higgins or whatever, and then you talk about they can have both of them, both DK Metcalf and T. Higgins. But after they get DK Metcalf, they trade the first round pick for the next year's draft, whatever. And then there's other guys within the free agency on the defense side, but you can fill out the roster with. So there's ways they can get better really, really fast, but it just depends on how the way they handle it.
All right, Deshaun, thank you. Appreciate the phone call, bud.
Yeah, they need to be more aggressive this offseason, plain and simple. They didn't do enough in a number of ways last offseason. The thing about trading players for picks, this is a team that needs to be adding talent, not losing it. Should they have traded a guy like KJ Osborne? Yes, at the deadline, but to talk about...
Did anybody want KJ Osborne? I don't know.
Well, Tyquan Thornton at least got signed to a practice squad right after, so maybe.
Yeah.
It sounded like they had offers, maybe not what they wanted, but I would have tried to move them. But, the talk about moving guys like Barmore or Hunter Henry or Mike Onwenu like that, no, they can't be bleeding talent more than they already are. As of this offseason, yeah, it comes down to how aggressive they can be. I don't know if they can become Super Bowl contenders, but they can make some big strides. You mentioned a couple of receivers there that will be available. I've been big into the idea of DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
And is he going to want out in
Seattle?
Seattle?
You've been pumping that since last offseason.
Yeah.
Metcalf stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to need a new contract, and we know how it goes with these receivers.
Yeah.
So, in the draft, and then to his point, you got to start hitting in the draft. The NFL, games are won and lost in the draft. You can kind of round a team out with free agency, certainly. But the whole Rams philosophy, F these picks, right? We're going to trade for guys. We're going to sign guys. That was kind of an anomaly.
Yeah.
That is going to be incredibly difficult to reproduce.
And you also had, Aaron Donald, who,
Right. They hit on a couple of draft picks to set that up.
Like a generational guy. You know what I mean? Like, that changes.
Right.
Aaron Donald changes the math of your defense.
And so does, by the way, Matthew Stafford,
Yes.
who they had to hit enough on Jared Goff to be
Yes.
able to make that trade.
Yes.
So you have to hit in the draft. You have to start. It all starts and stops, even more so than Metcalf or T. Higgins or whoever. If they don't start hitting in the draft, they're not going anywhere. Plain and simple. And we did the last segment, Nick, or whatever that was, 2 segments ago on, are people maybe too protective of Gerard Mayo? I don't know that Elliott Wolf has necessarily gotten as much attention as he should have for their past offseason. And I don't think he's going to get one and done. But this offseason is make or break for him. Like, you have to come out with a better showing, a exponentially better showing this offseason than you did last offseason.
I agree. I think Wolf, I walked into this saying Wolf gets 2 offseasons to fix this mess.
Which is fair.
That he inherited. Now, I do think, what could he have done? What didn't he do? A lot of people keep throwing out the whole, tackle stuff. I don't want to get buried into that. I've had my own thoughts on that. I think a lot of people just throw these names out there, and when you look at what those guys have actually done, they haven't really been that good. The guys that were drafted in the second round anyway. So it's not like they swung and missed big time in the second round by not drafting a tackle the way those guys have played when they've even played. But look, I'm not sitting here telling you that he had a good offseason. Right now, I did a little bit of a grading process a couple weeks ago on a podcast I do, and I gave him a D-. And so if you gave him an F, I wouldn't sit there and battle over D- and an F. I also would not write off this draft class after 11, 12 games. I know. Look, Jalen Polk, to this point, has been an absolute bust. Baker's been a bust. Wallace has been hurt. I understand all that. But I've also seen players from year 1 to year 2 get better a lot of times. And from year 1 to year 3 get much better. So I'm not writing those guys off, but he has to absolutely crush this offseason coming up. And there can't be any question. He has to get guys that immediately impact this team in a good light. And what could help that, honestly, Alex, is Drake Maye.
Yep.
Because, now you've got somebody who you can try to sell to free agents and might have some excitement around him. And I honestly believe this, that Sunday Drake Maye has an opportunity to have his best game that we've seen so far in the NFL. Gus Bradley's defense is incredibly predictable. They do what they do.
Pretty simplistic.
They're not super exotic up front. They don't blitz a ton. They trust their 4-man rush. DeForest Buckner, yes, is a headache. Latu is a big-time headache on the edge. But I think this is a game on Sunday where AVP walks in knowing what Gus Bradley wants to do, and so does Drake Maye. And I would be incredibly disappointed. I would be so frustrated if Drake Maye doesn't have a great game on Sunday. I could see him throwing for, 250, 280, and at least 2 touchdowns. He should have a damn good day against this defense.
The only thing I worry about, shocker, is the offensive line.
Yeah.
Because do you remember? So they cut Michael Jordan this week. We still don't know who's going to be at left guard. With Gerard Mayo speaking in about an hour and a half. So we'll hear. Maybe he'll give us an update. But you remember the last time? It's probably. I would think it's going to be Cole Strange. Natural position. He's cleared to come off.
Yep.
Leighton Robinson just has not been good this year. They still don't believe in City. So that's clear. Do you remember the last time Cole Strange faced DeForest Buckner?
I don't, but I'm going to guess it didn't go well.
He got benched.
and
twice. Well. 2 times ago he got benched. Last time he made it through the game, but it did not go well. He got beat pretty bad.
Buckner has killed the Patriots.
And Buckner's a good player.
Yes.
This is not, tough player to compete against. And then you have Latu, who you mentioned, who's a good player. But you know what he's especially good at? You know what he's been excellent at this year? Forcing the quarterback to fumble. When he gets the quarterback in the pocket, knocking the ball loose. And what is Drake Maye's biggest problem right now? Holding on to the football. So if you can keep those 2 guys in check, I'm with you. They should be able to throw the ball all over the yard. Another thing the Colts have struggled with is covering tight ends, which that's the Patriots' best thing they have going for them right now. Hunter Henry, you could argue, has been their best offensive player this year.
Yep.
And Austin Hooper's not low on that list either. The Patriots tight ends combined collectively, I think are like 4th or 5th in the league in terms of overall production, which come a long way from Ryan Izzo catching 12 passes and leading the team in that position. But if they can get this thing blocked, I think they can throw the ball, but they got to get it blocked, and that's going to be easier said than done this week.
Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy on this Friday morning. Have a lot more Patriots to get to. We'll discuss DeMarcus Covington and whether or not the defensive coordinator can recover this weekend against Indy after a really rough 2 weeks. We'll get to that and more coming up next.
Sports Hub headlines. Toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Is taking over defensive play calling something that you'd be open to this season?
No, look, I'm not. DeMarcus is doing a good job as far as calling plays. It comes down to executing what play is called.
Sup? How are you doing? Nick Cattles, Alex Barth in for Toucher and Hardy. I was going to say something, but I don't want to jinx myself. I was talking with you earlier before the show. I'm not going to jinx myself.
The under looks good.
I'm not going to jinx myself. Not going to jinx myself. Glad you're with us on this Friday. We appreciate every single one of you. Hopefully you enjoyed your Thanksgiving holiday yesterday with friends and family, and maybe you're extending, right, over the weekend. Many of you have Black Friday off now, so hopefully you're enjoying the day off. You're just getting up, getting cooking, not going shopping, because apparently that's not really done as much anymore. So hopefully you're enjoying your Friday and have a weekend set up. I know I'm going to enjoy my Friday. I can guarantee you that. I'm going to have a fun Friday. Can't wait for that. Before we get to DeMarcus Covington, Barth, I wanted to just bring this up. Revisionist history. Elliott Wolf, we just mentioned, obviously did not have a good offseason. Maybe we look back at this if the draft gets better, if Caden Wallace gets on the field, if. But right now, it's a D- at best of an offseason for Elliott Wolf. But the one thing that I don't think anybody can complain about is Drake Maye, in drafting Drake Maye. And I'm not going to go through this, okay? Because I know there are some people out there going, yeah, he did the easy thing. You're not allowed to do that. And I'll tell you why you're not allowed to do that. Because I did radio shows and podcasts, and I'm sure Barth talked to a lot of people, and I'm sure Evan Lazar and others, and our guy Phil Perry, and there were a lot of people out there saying you should trade the pick. Trade down. Get picks. Don't draft Drake Maye. Drake May's not ready. If you can't get Jaden Daniels, trade the pick. Do something else. There were a lot of people out there screaming from the mountaintops to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I know you people. You people out there exist. You did it. You said it. You tweeted it. So fess up.
Oh, they're all the same people telling you that they don't need a tackle and Will Campbell's overrated and they should just take Ted McMillan. They're still out there.
It's become this thing because the offseason was not good for Elliott Wolf to just, some people go, oh, yeah, and you can't give him credit for Drake Maye because that was the easy call. No, I'm not doing that, okay? I'll criticize Elliott Wolf for all the misses, but I am going to give him credit on Drake Maye. And I bring that up because Diana Rossini wrote about it this week, about Patriots fans should be thankful that the Patriots turned down the trade offers that they received for Drake Maye. We talked about this earlier in the show. I'm not going to mention the Giants because we both agree the Giants' offer was ridiculous, a fugazi. I want to ask you about the Vikings, though.
Okay.
So the Vikings offer was 11-23, along with a first-round pick next year. So I ask you this. Would you rather have Olu Fashanu and Brian Thomas, or would you rather have Drake Maye?
Who's my quarterback?
Precisely.
Are we doing it? Are we looking at Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward? And look, I like Cam
Precisely.
Ward. I like Cam Ward. I do. Not like Drake Maye.
Precisely.
Not like that. So look, here's what I come down to whenever we have
because that's what it would have been. Fashanu went 11.
I think it would have been J.J. McCarthy.
Brian Thomas went 23, maybe, right? But I'm just saying the
I
players.
Get what you're saying.
The players, like, because people would want the tackle and the receiver.
So
you could have had the tackle and receiver.
The inverse of what I've been saying is because I hate everybody talks about, well, why did they trade down instead of taking Ladd McConkey? To which I say, well, why didn't they trade up and take Xavier Legette or a tackle up there? And it's, the trade was there. It's Jalen Polk and then one of either Javon Baker or Layden Robinson. The second-round pick and one of those fourth-round picks. Would you rather have one of those two guys or would you rather have, Xavier Legette? But to the Vikings offer, and when I go back to it, I'm a big believer in precedent. And what is the pick worth based on what's been done in the past?
Right.
And when you look at what 3-12 is essentially what we're talking about, when you look at the trade between Miami and San Francisco in 2021, which was you swapped the firsts, they got 2 more firsts, future firsts, and a future third. That, to me, is more than that Vikings offer. That 23rd overall pick is not worth as much as a future first, especially not from that Vikings team. That's actually good. So I said at the time when people talked about trading down, well, yeah, you can get another quarterback another time. Not necessarily. If you believe Drake Maye is a franchise...
Is that what everyone sounded like?
I heard... just wait. Next year's quarterback class
we always do the voice, though. I just did it, too.
So I have to thank... So Felger's complimented me on my Blev voice, so I'm proud of it. I have to credit my brother, because when we would talk sports when we were younger, that's what my brother would sound like to me when he was annoyed at what I was saying.
Yeah.
So I borrowed his Blev voice, but... if you believe Drake Maye is a franchise quarterback, if you believe Drake Maye can win you 1 Super Bowl, what would be worth it to move on from that guy? What would be worth it to move on?
There's no doubt.
1 potential Super Bowl.
There's no doubt they made the right decision. The quarterback is the most critical position to get right. You have the 2025 offseason to address wide receiver and offensive tackle. And I know people, and rightfully so, you can look at what happened this past offseason and say, oh, but it's a different class. And one thing that jumps out at me, and we will get to Covington in a few minutes, but one thing that jumps out at me about this class is that there are more legitimate left tackles that are going to be free agents. You've got Ronnie Stanley. You've got Bowles from Denver.
We sure Stanley's going to be a free agent?
I mean, he might not be. I could just tell you what he is right now.
Fair enough.
He's a free agent right now. Wills in Cleveland, who's had a very down year and had some injuries, but he's got a lot of potential. He's still younger. There's like 6 or 7 guys at left tackle that have had pretty good years that are walking into free agency years. So that makes me feel a little bit more confident. Last year you had nothing to choose from, but you made the right call with Drake Maye. All right, we'll get to DeMarcus Covington. He's Alex Barth. I'm Nick Cattles. We're in for Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Touch.
Nick Cattles, Alex Barth with you. Toucher and Hardy out today. Get ready. They're going to be out a lot. We get closer to Christmas. The whole station's going to be off, I think. Everybody flees the building once we get to like mid-December. So be ready for that. Couple ham and eggers like Cattles and Barth filling in. So be ready to enjoy that experience. Before we get to an idea that Barth had, I just wanted to touch on the DeMarcus Covington situation. I don't know if you agree or disagree, Barth, but I actually think Alex Van Pelt might be the safest guy on this coaching staff right now if I was looking at a job that's been done.
100%.
Right?
100% agree. I don't even think that's a hot take at this point.
I mean, I find it funny. Like, there are still people, but especially there were people last week, like, just pounding the AVP table. I'm like, well, what about DeMarcus Covington and what we just saw in that Rams game, right? DeMarcus has had a couple of really rough weeks back-to-back here. And he's had a pretty rough season as the DC. I don't think this is an easy matchup, Barth, for Covington and the Patriots. I don't think it's as difficult as the last couple. But do you think Covington recovers this weekend and we see more from this defense against the Colts?
Well, it's going to come down to making adjustments, which, as we've talked about, they haven't been great at. So when you talk about easier matchup, the big thing, the Colts don't use a ton of motion. That killed them the last few weeks. Richardson is very erratic, and there should be opportunities. But throughout the year, it's kind of been a trend where they've struggled against teams with bigger receiving cores, right? The Rams, you go back to the Jets, you go back to the Texans, right, where there's size there. And Josh Downs, it sounds like, isn't going to play for the Colts this week. So that leaves you, and I just posted about this on 98.5thesportsup.com in my game preview.
You see what the guy did there?
Appreciate you said
he did the thing.
I appreciate you waiting all the way into the show. So I'm like, coming in today, I'm like, I got to get this posted. I'll do it one break, maybe two. Here we are, 8:53. It's up. So they got, with Josh Downs expected to be out with shoulder injury, 6'4" Michael Pittman, 6'3" Alec Pierce, and 6'2" A.D. Mitchell.
Now, Pierce was banged up. We'll see if Pierce plays.
Pierce is banged up, but Pittman and Mitchell, big guys. These guys play big.
Yes.
And look, I think Marcus Jones has been competitive this year, but there's been times where you watch him and it's just like 5'8's 5'8.
Yep.
And that's what it is. And Jonathan Jones has lost step, and he's at 5'9. Gonzalez on Pittman, I feel good about that matchup. But I don't think you put Marcus Jones out there on Alec Pierce or A.D. Mitchell. Not often.
Are we going to see Alex Austin this weekend? Is that what you're telling me?
You are. I'm hoping so. At this point, I'm not counting on any adjustments because we haven't seen them from this coaching staff. But
Fair.
Austin had a good camp. They didn't play him on defense at all before he got hurt. He did get hurt, so I get it. They didn't have him for a while. Comes back last week and only plays special teams. I'd like to see him on defense. I'd like to see Isaiah Bolden on defense. That's another guy with size and athleticism.
Yep.
Look, Austin was good for them down the stretch last year. Austin's more frustrating to me because we've seen he can play. He's a capable NFL corner. He's not an all-pro, but he's a capable NFL corner, which his team needs on the boundary. Bolden, we haven't really seen. He's more raw, but he has the size. He has the athleticism. Those are two things they need. Give me one of those two guys for a decent rotational role on Pierce or Mitchell. Like, that, to me, would be a big thing, but they've been slow to make these kinds of adjustments this year. It was 3 to 4 weeks of Jelani Tavai at linebacker after Bentley got hurt before they adjusted out of that. We saw them a little slow with rotations on the defensive line and the way they used pass rushers. They got to make a change because you're not going to get it done against this group with 5'9" corners.
Not going to be an easy game. The thing I look at is discipline. The Colts are going to run a bunch of different run plays with Anthony Richardson. He's a big, athletic freak of a quarterback. They'll have option plays, and they'll mix it up with a bunch of wrinkles with Richardson in the run game. And Covington mentioned it this week. Like, you got to trap, he said, Richardson in the pocket. And, you know, this defense, they have not consistently shown discipline against certain looks. And their pass rush discipline at times, they've been a little bit better recently, but we know they've lost the edge a few times and gone too far downfield. Sometimes guys have kicked inside instead of staying outside with the pass rush. Those kinds of things will kill you with Richardson. So they need discipline on Sunday, and they have not shown consistent discipline. I also think Steichen's a good play caller. I don't know if he's a great head coach, a good head coach. Not totally sold on that. But I do think he's a good play caller. There's no evidence that the Patriots can get a pass rush.
No, that's the last thing I'm expecting.
And they've also been up and down against the run. Last weekend, you could say the one good thing that their defense did was actually shut down the run under 3 yards a carry. But I think this is a difficult matchup for this Pats defense, and they've just got to make sure that they limit and contain Richardson, because if not, he is the kind of guy that can hurt you. I know everybody looks at the completion percentage, but I read a long story by Ben Solak from ESPN a couple weeks ago, and even before Richardson was benched, Solak's point was, look, a lot of times they're asking this guy to chuck the football down the field. So it's not the only reason why his completion percentage is so low, but a big part of the reason was for the chunk of the beginning of the year, they were throwing downfield almost every single play. And, those are low percentage plays.
So to that point, Nick, and he does have the lowest completion percentage in the league by 12 points among qualified quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh, it's terrible.
So he's at 48%.
Yeah,
the next closest is Jacoby Brissett at 59, oddly enough. But so he has the lowest completion percentage. He leads the league, not in yards per attempt, because there's too many incompletions. Yards per completion. He leads the league by, again, it's a significant margin. It's like 2 yards per pass.
Yep.
So if you give him opportunities, he will beat you. But it's not that hard to make him uncomfortable. And they just got to be able to make him uncomfortable.
He's up and down. He's boom or bust. He'll be able to make some tight window throws. He's got a great arm.
He's an extreme version of what Drake Maye is.
Yes. Yep. He's more athletic. He's bigger. They run the football with him a hell of a lot more. I was thankful to hear AVP say this week that that he's opened the idea of design runs for Drake Maye. Finally, it should have been happening from the beginning. But yeah, he's boom or bust. He's a little bit. I like that the way you put it. He's a little bit of an extreme example of a Drake Maye. He could hurt you. He can beat you downfield. He can make some big time throws, but he also will give it to you. He'll give you the football. He'll turn it over. So when you look at the Colts, they're near the bottom of the league when it comes to giveaways. Now, overall, I think they're -1 in turnover differential because they've also created takeaways, which is another problem. DeMarcus Covington came out before the season, and he was asked at his press conference, that introductory press conference that was so electric. He was asked about, what he was going to change about this defense. And he mentioned they were going to be more aggressive, they were going to play faster, and they were going to take the football away.
Yeah, they haven't done that.
They haven't done that at all.
They have 2 turnovers since week 6.
I mean, they haven't done it at all. So the Colts will give you the football, but the Colts will take it away. The Patriots will give you the football, and they never take it away. That's the problem. That's why they're -7, I think it is, right? In turnover differential. They're near the bottom of the league in that statistic.
Yeah, -7, 27th in takeaways, 21st in giveaways.
There you go. Just not good enough. 27 to takeaways.
9.
Just not good enough.
And they've also played more games than most teams because they've delayed by. That's total number. That's not per game.
Yeah. All right, we'll have the latest on Juan Soto, what happened during Turkey Day on Twitter. It was pretty interesting. And we'll also give you a full breakdown of this Colts game coming up on Sunday. Cattle's Barth in for Toucher and Hardy.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston. From the opening kickoff to the final play. Your home of the Pats. 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Let's take a look at the NFL's Thanksgiving slate. We'll start there, and it was the Chicago Bears failing to snap the ball in time to get 2 plays off late in the game. They ended up losing the Lions 23-20. The Cowboys held off the Giants 27-20 in the middle window. And then last night, the Packers all over the Dolphins at Green Bay 30-17. The final. It's a Black Friday game today as well. The Chiefs host the Raiders. That one kicks off at 3 o'clock. Patriots, they play on Sunday. They host the Colts. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff with pregame beginning at 10 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. On the Sports Hub tonight, starting at 6, the Bruins. They're back at it at home taking on the Penguins. Celtics play tonight Coverage starts at 7:30 on our sister station, 105.7 WROR. It's a cup game for the Celtics, the final one of the group stage. They have a chance to advance. They could use some help, though, mainly in the Cavaliers-Hawks game that takes place this afternoon. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the double bonus card special at the 99. Visit the Nines this Saturday and Sunday, and for every $25 you purchase in gift cards, receive 2 $5 bonus cards. You gotta love the Nines. I'm Alex Barth on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
We have reached it, gentlemen. The fourth and final hour of your Black Friday program here in the morning. Cattles and Barth in for Toucher and Hardy.
Don't call that Uber just yet, Nick.
No. I gotta go home and probably take a nap.
There you go. That's a pro move.
I gotta slip a nap in, and then I gotta do a couple podcasts, and then I'll be ready. Then I'll be full bore, ready to go. Ready to go. Can't wait. I've been looking forward to this day. My brother's having like a Friendsgiving thing tomorrow. I feel like I'm going to text him later and warn him that I might not make it.
Friendsgiving's hit and miss.
My brother's got to figure it out. He
does? Okay.
He's a pro. He's a pro. I do have some concerns, though, because it's going to be like 40 degrees out. And he doesn't have a huge house, and he's got like, I think, 35 to 40 people showing up. So it might be a little bit of a bleep show. Everybody kind of squeezed in like sardines in the house.
Could get a little stuffy.
And I'm a Notre Dame guy, so I am fully focused at 3:30 tomorrow.
It's a big game tomorrow.
Oh, huge! It's
you nervous?
Yeah. I mean,
should be.
They've not played well at USC, and USC has kind of put it together over the last month and a half. They're now a bowl team. They're 6-5 now, so they're playing better football. And I mean, I feel like this is one of those times when Notre Dame will just break your heart tomorrow. When they've, the Northern Illinois loss early in the year, and I thought their season was derailed at that point. They come back, they win a bunch of games, and now it's in their hands. I mean, they win tomorrow, they're hosting a playoff game.
Well, I'll tell you this, as an Alabama fan, while you're sweating through that, I am not feeling great about the Iron Bowl tomorrow. Alabama, they're not necessarily in the playoff, but, a win probably gets them in. But you got Auburn after that crazy ending last year.
Don't get me on this. I don't think they should be in.
I don't think they should be in, but I want them to be in.
No team with 3 losses should be in.
Also, I saw a stat the other day. Something like they've never beat Auburn in Tuscaloosa without Saban because they used to play the game on a neutral site. So,
I'm a little tomorrow it's huge in 2 ways because if they win, if Notre Dame wins, and we gotta get to Soto in a minute, but if they win, a little quick I
got up at 5 a.m. We're doing some college football talk.
So if they win, again, they're gonna host a playoff game,
right?
But also, if they win, somewhat convincingly, if they beat USC by, let's say, 10 to 14 points, they probably leapfrog Penn State because Penn State beat USC earlier in the year, but they went to overtime and won by a field goal. So common opponent on the road, USC. Penn State hasn't really beaten anybody.
No.
So if Notre Dame goes on the road tomorrow and beats USC somewhat convincingly, I think they leapfrog Penn State, which is huge because then that would set up Notre Dame. If they get through that first round matchup, that sets up Notre Dame to play probably Miami in the second round. So no,
it's going to be probably Boise.
It could be Boise.
Because you have Oregon in the Big Ten, Texas in the SEC. Miami's the 3rd seed in the ACC. So
like right now, Notre Dame's set to play Texas if it falls a certain way. Like
right.
if it goes the way it is right now, they would if they get past that first round home game, they would have to play Texas, which is I think it's over.
Yeah, that's over. No, but
I think they could beat Miami and they could beat Boise State. So get me to the semifinal and pants off. George, pants off. If Notre Dame finds a way to get to that semifinal, pants completely off.
It's going to be Boise or whoever wins the Big 12.
But
Maybe Tulane.
But I'm not doing this, though. See what we're doing? I'm not. They have to win tomorrow. They've had a terrible time at USC playing in that stadium. They have to win tomorrow. If they do, I'll be a very happy Nick Cattles for the next couple weeks. All right, Juan Soto, quick update before we get to the Colts-Patriots preview for you coming up on Sunday. A lot of stuff was thrown out there yesterday on Twitter. Beyond Average Mick, somebody who's, gained some fame recently by breaking the Jim Montgomery news on Twitter. He is connected to Kirk Minahan somehow, some way. He came out yesterday, posted that the Red Sox have signed Soto. 12-year deal. No deferred money. Mike Rodriguez, former Cubs analyst, insider, came out and he posted that Soto met with Devers for over an hour yesterday, and that the Red Sox have a 12-year offer on the table, 12-year offer for $50 million per, and that Soto's interested in joining the Red Sox. They're a strong contender. Hector Gomez from Z101 Digital came out and said that he's hearing it's a 13-year, $625 million offer from the Sox to Soto. Jeff Passan came out and urinated on everything and said that he's thankful for reporters who don't make up stories. And he's also thankful that Soto did not agree to any contract, which means people should get off Twitter and enjoy the holiday. So that's where we're at with Juan Soto. I believe this is legitimate interest from the Red Sox. I do not believe this is one of those, let's just throw it out there to make the fans feel good. By the way, I don't think any of these stories that get thrown out there in real time, maybe when you look at the autopsy of, like, we didn't get Yamamoto, if you're the Red Sox, you leak out that you offered him such and such because it makes you look better.
Right.
But in real time, these leaks aren't coming from the team. Okay, so when John Heyman goes out there this week and he says that the Red Sox are gaining steam or whatever the hell he said, and then literally 24 hours later he's telling us the Yankees have upped their offer and now they might be the favorites.
Scott Boras.
Yeah, that's coming from Scott Boras. So I do think the Red Sox are legitimately going after Juan Soto. I don't know how many of you agree or disagree with that statement, 617-779-0985. And I do think if you land Soto, and I don't think they're going to, I think he goes to New York. But if you do land Soto, this is a gigantic swing of momentum for John Henry and this ownership group. And I think we start looking at this team moving forward for the next several years much differently if Soto was a Red Sox, because that means, Barth, that they paid the money.
We're going to have to be full throttle in every possible way.
Come on, why you got to do that?
That was George that time, not me.
Come on, George.
No, it changes everything. It changes everything. And I go back to the Buster-only report, observation, whatever you want to call it, from Wednesday morning, basically saying the Red Sox don't have the same brand equity in the league that they used to have. And I'm paraphrasing here, but that, players, agents were miffed about the way they've handled negotiations in the past, is starting with Mookie Betts. To me, it goes back to John Lester, but starting with Mookie Betts. And free agents don't take them seriously. A guy like Juan Soto signs, suddenly teams take you seriously because, like we talked about, this is not me saying that adding Juan Soto would not be a good addition. It absolutely would. But if you add Juan Soto and do nothing else, they're a fringe playoff team. They need pitching. They need a right-handed bat.
No doubt.
They need to get Yoshida off the roster.
They need to defend.
They need to defend. They need players at the actual positions.
Yeah.
How many years are we going to have to watch outfielders trying to play second base?
I love Rafi, but get him off third. Get him off please.
third. Honestly, I'll take even less than that. Just give me 9 guys playing their actual listed positions, because it feels like we haven't had that consistently in years.
You need Trevor Story to stay healthy somehow, some way.
Trevor Story can move to second. I'm okay with that because his arm might be shot. But the point being, like, they need to do more. If you sign Juan Soto, doing that more becomes exponentially easier.
Yeah.
Because now you're a destination. And now maybe you get some guys buying in to the aura of the Boston Red Sox, like players did after Pedro signed, and when you had the arms race with the Yankees in the early and mid-2000s, right? Kurt Schilling coming here to beat the Yankees, make the New Yorkers shut up. That famous quote, right?
Yep. I just supposed to you guys something a year ago, yesterday, going back to 2003, was the anniversary for the Kurt Schilling trade coming to fruition.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. Right around Turkey Day, never forget that.
Did they have? They was in that documentary on Netflix. Like they had Thanksgiving dinner at his house.
Yeah, and Jed Hoyer got food poisoning.
Got sick.
Yeah, because Schilling's wife didn't cook the turkey enough. Sweet job by them. Should have got it catered, Kurt.
But that's how you close the deal.
But
he wanted to see how bad they really wanted him.
Couple things I would say. I do wonder if getting the pitcher first helps you with Soto more than getting Soto and then landing the pitcher. If you can get Max Fried to sign on that dotted line, then you go back to Soto and you say, okay, now the rotation looks even better. Now you come here, bing, bang, boom, we got some business to attend to, and I think we can get the job done. The Buster-only stuff, I do wonder that does reek a little bit of leverage from agents. Again, a lot of this stuff gets leaked by agents.
I think that's from agents, but I also think it's true.
Yeah, both things can be true, right?
Yeah.
Like this could be leaked out to Buster-only at this time because, you look at it and it's, well, we know the Red Sox are really serious this offseason, and we know that they're talking to Max Fried, and we know that they're talking to Soto, and we know they're talking to Burns, and they talked to Snell before he. So this could be, a nice little dig from the agent to the Red Sox to try to get just a little bit more money from them for a Max Fried, for example. But I do think they're serious about Soto. Your thoughts? Do you believe? I believe they have a shot. I don't think it's a great shot. I do think they have a chance. They have a chip in a chair, as they say in the gambling world. You got a chip in a chair? I think they got a shot. Your thoughts, 617-779-0985, 617-779-0985. Let's get to the Patriots here, too, for a few minutes.
Yep.
Colts, Sunday. What do you think we see play out?
I think it could be a sloppy game both ways. I think you could see the turnover number up there. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. And what I mean by that is, and we kind of talked about it, both of these quarterbacks are electric and erratic. So they both have the ability to make some jaw-dropping plays.
Yeah.
But they both can get sloppy at times. So I think this game is going to be not – so you sometimes you look at a game like that and it's, all right, well, which quarterback can make the last play? Which quarterback can make one play more than the other? I think it's more about which team is better positioned to take advantage of any potential turnovers, to get a defensive score in this game or capitalizing on a short field or things like that. I think that's what it comes down to. And then there's also, and this is what I wrote about this morning, this unique angle of, these teams were held up as the standard together for so long, right, during the Brady Manning years. And even into Brady, Andrew Luck. It wasn't quite the same, but even into that era.
Right.
Obviously, the Patriots were another level above the Colts, but that defined the AFC. It defined the NFL, was that rivalry. And they've both kind of gone through some hard times the last few years. Here they both are. There's some similarities just in the path between Maye and Richardson, third quarterbacks taken in their drafts, young guys seen as developmental players, Richardson to a higher extent. And it's a rivalry. It's a series that was always about the quarterbacks. Even when you can even go back beyond Brady Manning, and there were some big quarterback matchups there. And now here are two young quarterbacks, two guys that were drafted in a spot where they should be among the faces of the league. And now they make their debut in this very quarterback-centric series. So, if you look at both fan bases, they probably look at this and say they want this to be the next Brady Manning. Now, you have Mahomes and Lamar and Josh Allen, and there's a lot of quarterbacks ahead of these guys, but this should be the Colts and Patriots play almost every year, and that's continued post Brady Manning. This is going to be the third year in a row that they've played currently. This is a matchup that fans want to see for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any traction in that. We look back at this one and say, it's the first meeting between Drake Maye and Anthony Richardson.
Interested to see how Richardson plays in the cold weather. Obviously Indy has a dome.
Well, Drake Maye in the cold weather too, for what it's worth.
Yes, he played his college football at Florida. So I think there's some question about how these quarterbacks will be able to adjust when it's, 35 degrees or so and a little bit of wind out there at Foxborough.
Do you remember Mac Jones, his rookie year, wore a hand warmer when it was 50 degrees out? And that was a massive story for a week.
Yeah. So, I think Drake Maye is going to have a good game. If he can take care of the turnovers, if he takes care of the football, I think he's going to have just a great game against this defense because I do think there are going to be opportunities there. Defensively, I can't trust the Patriots, and I don't know how you can trust the Patriots defensively at this point.
No, it's fair.
I need to see it to believe it. I do think if they can contain Anthony Richardson, and they keep him in the pocket, and they make him, make multiple reads and force him to be a quarterback that consistently has to win from the pocket, then I think they'll have some success defensively. But this is, overall, 30,000-foot view of this game. It's a big game, and that might sound ridiculous, but it's a big game. It's a big game because you got 5 left. You got at Arizona. You got 2 against Buffalo, and you got to play the Chargers. This is no doubt the most winnable game that's left on your schedule. And so if you lose this game, you could lose the last 5 games of the year. You could lose the last 6 games of the year, 7 games of the year, going back to the Rams. So, I mean, if we're all looking at the last 5 games and how this team improves, if they improve, if the coaching staff improves, what's it say about Gerard Mayo and the job that he's doing? All of those factors, right? All of those topics that we've talked about. If you go out there on Sunday, especially after what we just witnessed against Miami, down in Miami, if you go out there on Sunday and you lose to the Colts, especially if you lose to the Colts, and it looks like it's almost easy for Indy, that's bad. That is bad. You got your bye week coming up. I mean, if you beat Indy, you go into your bye, you feel pretty good, extra week to prepare for Arizona, then maybe you can make something happen. You compete down in Arizona, who knows? But this game's big because this is the one game left out of these 5 that you feel like the Patriots have a shot going in, a legitimate shot to win this game. 617-779-0985. 617-779-0985. We'll get to your thoughts on Juan Soto and the Red Sox. Do you believe? Also your thoughts on the Colts Patriots. Can the Patriots come back after last week's debacle in Miami and get the job done? Cattles, Barth, in for Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's a classic. George playing the hits Beyond the Glass. Just over a half hour left. We're all stretching. We're all trying to get through. Barth just let out a big old stretch. I saw Jamelli do so. He ran up the stairs. I don't know what the hell he was doing. I thought he was leaving the building. Put your mic on.
Getting the cardio in.
You can tell it's been 3.5 hours. Barth forgot to put his mic on twice. Yeah, Jamelli ran away. What were you doing?
Are you going to shame me right now?
No. You getting your workout in? What the? I just saw you run up the stairs. I don't know.
I had to use. I use the the bathroom upstairs.
There's a bathroom down here.
Yeah, but
Oh.
Thanks for bringing that up on the air.
You didn't have to tell us why you went upstairs. You made that call.
Well, what other reason would I have to go upstairs?
There's getting a workout in.
Yeah.
People listening, you could have said, "Oh, there's a great snack machine upstairs. There's coffee upstairs."
Workout. Yeah, I got to stretch out. And
everybody
stuff. I
knows
gotta
now.
do some Black Friday shopping.
Everybody
after
knows. Everybody knows you had to go drop a deuce. Everybody knows it now. You rat it on yourself. Don't blame me.
People that work in those offices up there now. They know to keep an eye out for you.
Hey, happy Black Friday. Nick Jamelli just pooped. Oh, dear. All right, we'll get to around the NFL in a minute. But first, let's go to Chad in Framingham. He wants to talk about Juan Soto. What's up, Chad?
Hey, fellas. Has there been any report of who are in the meetings for Juan Soto or any pitchers that are still on the market like Max? Is Theo around? Like, who are they sending in similar to Kurt Schilling in the past where they're really trying to make a run for these guys, assuming they are actually trying to make a run for these guys? Thanks.
All right, Chad, I appreciate the phone call. There was a report. There's a couple reports about the meetings between Soto and the Red Sox. John Henry was not at the meeting. Tom Werner was at the meeting, from what I read. Breslow was there. I'm trying to
I think they had him on the phone with Ortiz for a while, right?
There were 5 or 6 people at the meeting. I don't want to tell you that Theo was there unless I know for a fact that Theo was there. So, let me pull this up right now. I know Werner was there. I know Breslow was there. Cora was there. Sam Kennedy was there. So it's Breslow, Cora, Kennedy, and Warner. Sean McAdam had that. So Sean McAdam reported about a week ago at Mass Live. So great work by Sean, who's been on the beat for a long time. Certainly knows what the hell he's talking about and what he's doing. So those were the people. That was the Red Sox contingency who went out to meet with Soto. It was Breslow, Cora, Kennedy, and Warner. No, obviously no John Henry, but at least you had one of the guys from the ownership there and Sam Kennedy. It's much different. Much different. I think it was Carabas who I was watching. Milliken's here, right?
Yeah, he's in the Jock Lounge.
If Milliken's listening, I think I was watching the guys at Section 10 who do a great job, all of those guys. And I think Carabas was the one that said prior years, if you're wondering like how serious is the hunt for Juan Soto versus prior free agents the last few years, I believe Carabas said that the Red Sox sent only like Eddie Romero or whatever to go meet with these agents the last couple of years. So that should tell you alone, okay? And it's no disrespect to Eddie Romero, but when you're really going after a top free agent, you don't send just the assistant GM, okay? Like when you're really chasing somebody, especially of the Juan Soto category, you send the big guns.
It reminds me of, remember when the Celtics were going after Durant? They got Brady to go out. Where's that? Nantucket, right?
Hey, Kelly Olynyk. Let's not forget Kelly Olynyk.
Well, he didn't sign here.
With his tie-dye Grateful Dead shirt on. Yes. They sent Brady out there to the Hamptons. So that should tell you.
That's what it was.
That should tell you, right? To the caller, I think his name was Chad. That should tell you that this is more serious than what they've been doing the last few years. They're not sending their assistant general manager. They're sending Warner, Kennedy, Cora to go along with Breslow. So they're sending 4 of the main components here to your front office. And by the way, I'm not surprised that Theo's not involved as far as going out and doing these meetings, and I'll tell you why. Breslow and Theo are friends, and I think I would imagine, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I haven't talked to him. Theo, if you're listening, give me a call. But I would imagine that Theo would feel like he was pretty much chopping Breslow off at the knees if he went out there. Because if this deal gets done, you want Breslow to have his day. If Theo's out there negotiating, if Soto ends up signing with the Red Sox, which, again, I don't think is going to happen, but if he did, the reaction would be, oh, man, Theo did it again, right? Theo would get the headlines. Theo would get the love. And Breslow would be kind of left on the back burner. So I'm not surprised Theo's not, out there personally negotiating. All right, let's get to Around the NFL.
Around the NFL with Toucher and Hardy.
They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
All right. Matthew McConaughey, as he said, fantastic movie if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, we start with today because, yes, there's a football game, Barth, on Black Friday. It is the Raiders at the Chiefs. That's right. Kansas City will play host to the Raiders. Game's at 3 o'clock Eastern on Amazon Prime, if you're wondering. And Patrick, Mr. Mahomes, was asked about playing the game the way they play during their final drives. Why don't you do it more often, Patrick?
I think it's just a little bit of just being ourselves, being prepared for the moment. Obviously, you want to do it throughout the entire game, but when it's kind of best way to say it is do or die time, and you have to make it happen. It seems like guys just go out there and make it happen, and we're prepared for those moments. And Coach Reed prepares us, all the coaches prepare us, and the guys go out there and do what needs to be done.
Barth, do the Raiders have any shot of winning this football game today?
The Raiders have always played the Chiefs tough under Mahomes, but they just don't have the horses.
I think they'll hang around because the Chiefs have pretty much just let teams hang around all year.
Oh, no, this is going to be a close game.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good, exciting game.
Yep, division rival.
It's going to be one BS call late, and Chiefs are going to win on a field goal. Made or missed, whoever's kicking.
All right, the Jets. If there's one good thing about this football season, Patriots fans, it's to watch this Jets circus. Barnum and Bailey's rolling with Aaron Rodgers leading the clown car. Rodgers has been in the news this week. He was asked about his future for next season.
I've really enjoyed my time in New York. I mean, obviously we haven't had the success that we've all wanted to have, but, I've made some great friendships on the team, and I came here to win here. So I'm not jumping off ship, I definitely want to play and not in New York. I don't even know if I want to play yet, but New York would be my first option.
That was, of course, on the Pat McAfee show, as you could hear the giggles from behind. Is Aaron Rodgers a Jet next year?
I think he's going to retire.
Really?
I think because
You think he's going to go take some ayahuasca and be like, I'm done with this?
He looks cooked, and generally with these guys, they can't handle playing when they're not good. It's just too hard for them mentally. So if he's back, I do think he's back with the Jets, though, because I think the Jets are dumb enough to keep him.
Here's an interesting one. Steelers-Bengals, AFC North, division rivalry here. It's usually a pretty tough game. Not always the most entertaining or aesthetically pleasing game, but here's Mike Tomlin, who, for my money, is the best at these press conferences. This man is the best. His delivery, the diction, everything. Here's Tomlin talking earlier in the week about their preparation.
We looked at the last collection of games, and we feel like there's more meat on that bone offensively and defensively. And so with the extra couple of days, we thought it was appropriate to focus on ourselves in that space. And then we focus on the application of that research today in terms of delivering that to the players and working those spaces a little bit.
The application of the research. Tomlin should read books for a living when he's done with coaching. He would be excellent at that. Can the Bengals steal one here?
They can. Divisional football, weird things happen. And they still have talent.
What do you make of the Russell Wilson experience?
I think he's, the defense is doing a lot, but I'm surprised. He was able to be a little resurgent. Usually guys at that age, look at Rodgers. Usually guys at that age don't bounce back like that.
All right, we'll get to Tom Brady in a minute, but first, a couple of other games. You've got Houston, the Texans at the Jaguars. Houston 7-5. Have they been as good as you thought they would be, or disappointing?
A little disappointing.
Yeah, I
CJ
agree.
Stroud has definitely had a bit of a sophomore slump. I think teams kind of have some tape on him, and losing Diggs hurt. Diggs was great for them before he went out.
You got the Chargers at the Falcons. Which one of those teams? They both look like they're going to be headed to the playoffs. Which one do you believe in more?
Falcons. I've just seen the Chargers choke it away too many. And look, I say that compared to the Falcons.
They got Jimmy Harbaugh, though.
I'm not a big Harbaugh guy.
Not as an
Harbaugh NFL coach.
Arizona at Minnesota. Sam Darnold versus Kyler Murray.
It's the Cardinals late in the year. They always fall off late in the year. And I like what Minnesota
keep your fingers crossed. Pat's got him in 2 weeks.
Right. I like what Minnesota has. I think it's sustainable. I think Sam Darnold's playing well. I think Kevin O'Connell might be the most underrated, underappreciated coach in the league. I like what Minnesota's building. I think they're a dark horse in the NFC.
This one's sexy. Philadelphia at Baltimore. Is this Lamar Jackson's year?
I think so. So I said before the season the Derrick Henry addition was going to be massive because part of the reason Lamar Jackson was falling off late every year is because he just wasn't healthy, because they were so reliant on him in the run game. He was taking too many hits. Well, Derrick Henry's taking those hits, so Lamar looks as good late in the season as he has at any point in his career. And the hits don't seem to be impacting Derrick Henry much either. He looks pretty good, too. I think the Ravens are one of the best teams in football.
It's all about the postseason with Lamar. And I hate to say that, but it's true.
But he's positioned better for a postseason run this year than he's ever been in his career.
No doubt. This just threw me off. I looked at the TV. We're getting ready for NBC Sports Boston. And it's Barth and I on the TV in the dark, and they keep
flipping around. There's my backpack.
Changing the camera angles, like all sorts of crazy. Let's slide Tom Brady in. Tom Brady, of course, did the broadcast yesterday, gobble gobble on Fox, and here's good old Tommy.
I don't know how the whole situation went down, but to think that you would ask for a release from a team that committed a lot to you is maybe different than I would have handled that. I always felt I wanted to get the trust and respect of my teammates regardless situation, knowing that I was trying to do the best I could for the team because that was the most important thing. There's just some different things that happen in the NFL, and everyone makes individual choices, and I think we're all at points in our career face different challenges. I faced them in college, and some things didn't go the way I wanted, but the people that mattered most to me were the guys in the locker room. I showed up every day. I don't care if they asked me to be scout team safety, be scout team quarterback. I was going to do whatever I could to help the team win.
Before I get to the meat and potatoes of that, does Fox need to have the stadium sound and the quarterback mic so damn loud? It sounded like the quarterback was a third man in the booth. Brady's in the middle of his point. Yeah, like, what are we doing?
I'm not even mad because we just went through that whole NBA and NHL playoffs where there was no crowd noise and the environment seemed dead, and it took away from the game so much.
Can we have a balance, though?
Obviously. But if they're going to go to the extreme one way, overdo it rather than underdo it.
I thought that was really good by Brady. He hasn't been great in the booth, obviously, but more of that would help with, a little bit more sharp towards people, a little bit more critical at times. Now, is it a fair assessment of Daniel Jones? I could leave that up to you, but I'm just talking about the delivery by Brady and the content there. That's what you want to see more of and hear more of.
There are moments with Brady, and they go both ways. They end up being better than you'd think or worse than you'd think, where he says something from his point of view, and his point of view is so unique because of who he is. Like, there was one yesterday where he's talking about maneuvering in the pocket and pocket presence and pocket awareness, and he's like, you need to do this, 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 and this. Like, that's what a good quarterback would do. And it's like, dude, you're the only person in history that's ever been able to do it like that. Like, you can't expect that from everybody. And then with the Daniel Jones thing, like, he's never been in that situation, but
right.
It shows you the difference in the mentality.
Yes.
Because I think the mentality is part of it. So you're starting to get his unique viewpoint more. It's been hit and miss. I thought he was up and down yesterday, but more of that unique viewpoint, I think will ultimately be a good thing.
I agree with you. By the way, some Patriots news. Nothing earth-shattering here, but Michael Jordan is back, baby. Michael Jordan, he's back. He cleared waivers. The Patriots have signed guard Michael Jordan to the practice squad.
So maybe he will start this week.
So there you have it. Imagine being cut and then elevated to start. You just cut my ass last week. You're back in, baby. You're back in. Maybe Lester Cotton will get the start. Good old Lester. You can't miss Lester, I'll tell you. If you watch him at practice, you guess that's a big man. It's a big man. So Jordan back. All right, we got to wrap this puppy up here. Cattles, Barth, in for Toucher and Hardy. We'll get the stack coming up next.
talk sounds like this? This is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Cattles and Barth in for Toucher and Hardy, one final segment. And, of course, on this Black Friday, we got the Stack for you. Stack brought to you by D'Angelo Grilled Sandwiches, freshly grilled, freakishly good. D'Angelo Classic Steak and Cheese, savory steak, and melty American cheese piled high on golden brown bread. Devour one today. All right. Got a little bit of a Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel update for you, Alex Barth.
Hit me with it.
So this was written this week by Dan Graziano and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Fowler writes, my sense is Belichick will be somewhere in that second tier of coaching candidates this hiring cycle. The hot coordinator pool, spicy, highlighted by Lions OC Ben Johnson and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, typically takes precedence. After that, the pool is wide open, and both Belichick and his former linebacker Mike Vrabel will be in the mix. Fowler says he's talked to people in the league who believe Vrabel will have the edge over Belichick. So my first question, Belichick, a second-tier candidate, not a first-tier candidate. You buying that?
I do, just because I think when you're looking for a coaching hire, you're looking for long-term sustainability, and that's not what you're getting with Belichick. Belichick's coming in to 2 to 3 years, high ceiling, and then leave. And he's going to be in win-now mode. You're moving on from draft picks. You're putting money up front, all that. It kind of reminds me of Brady the Bucs. People forget this. Brady kind of went to the Bucs by default. There weren't that many teams interested. And it's not because Tom Brady's not a great player. I just think a lot of teams looked at it and said, do we want to blow out a decade? And the Bucs rebounded because Baker Mayfield they found incredibly. But, do we want to blow 5 years to a decade on a 1 to 2 year window?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with Belichick. And it's even more extreme with a coach because a player, you're looking at, 7 to 8 years, realistically, right? Coach, a good coaching hire is going to go 10, 15 years. So that's not ever a realistic expectation with Bill. I don't think Bill wants that. I think Bill wants to get the record and be done. Get the record, one more ring and be done. So, if I'm an NFL franchise, if I'm an owner, I can see some, especially if your roster's not ready to win right now. Look at some of the teams that need coaches. Like the Giants don't, maybe he wants to go there for the historical element of it, but that team's going to take a few years to get going.
Yeah.
He doesn't make sense for Bill. Bill doesn't make sense for them.
Yep. The age, how much control is he going to want? We think he's going to want
that
a
whole
lot of
thing
control.
Too. That's what happened in Atlanta.
Yeah, he needs to win. So you need the quarterback need filled there. Graziano continues, the place that makes the most sense for Belichick is Jacksonville. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard Jacksonville. Burt Breer brought up Jacksonville several weeks ago as a possible Belichick landing spot. There have been many other people who have thrown Jacksonville out there into the ether.
They just know Bill wants to get back with Mac Jones.
Oh, God. You imagine that? You buy in Jacksonville?
Yeah, because I think their roster's closer than their record indicates. I could see Bill being a believer in Trevor Lawrence. They've got a couple players on the defensive side of the ball, Josh Hines, Allen, right, among them. They've got some receivers.
Yep.
I don't know if that'd be his top choice. I still think Dallas is the preeminent option, and I thought it might be Philly, but they've obviously rebounded. I think Dallas is still the one that makes the most sense, but I wouldn't be the most surprised if he went to Jacksonville.
Where do you think Vrabel lands?
That one's tougher. And I can see why Vrabel's maybe the more preferred candidate because he's in it for the long haul. There are teams that are historically more hesitant to hire the defensive coach, so he has that working against him. But, Dallas would be another one that makes a ton of sense for him. High-profile name. A defensive coach in Dallas will always play well. Trying to think of what the other openings are going to be. The Giants could be one for him.
Does he just stay in Cleveland? he's
Maybe.
already there. He just parks his
Ohio guy. Well, I'm thinking like dark horse.
Yeah.
Does he go back to Ohio State?
Ooh. Because if you're getting rid of Ryan Day?
I mean, if they don't win a title this year, it's not going to happen.
This is just your way to sneak more college football into the program.
Correct.
I respect it.
I remember like this time last year when Ryan Day seemed like he was on the hot seat and probably should have been fired. A bunch of people were talking about, well, if because we thought Vrabel would come to the Patriots, right? And it was, are the Patriots going to have to compete with Ohio State for Mike Vrabel?
Yeah.
So does that thing come back?
I mean, I could see it. You know, I don't think Chip Kelly would want to be promoted. It feels like Chip is, he's a little bit happier. Yeah. He's a little bit happier with.
And I think if you let Ryan Day go, you're blowing everybody out.
Yeah. Because the next guy is going to want everybody. I mean, look, Marcus Freeman would be interesting, right?
For Ohio State.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman would be interesting if he's able to get to the playoff and, if he gets to the semifinal, especially if he can win a game in the playoff. He played at Ohio State. He coached at Ohio State, so that might be one of the names that Ohio State might look at as well if they get rid of Ryan Day. All right, well, let's wrap it up here. Yesterday, the talk of the entire day, the entire football day, was how Chicago absolutely blew it against Detroit. They had the football at the Detroit 35-yard line, 36 seconds left, one timeout, and Caleb Williams gets sacked. They all stand around for 30 seconds. Nobody's calling a timeout. Nobody's doing anything. Barth, you brought this up during the break.
Turns out Caleb Williams was doing something.
Yeah. Barth, you brought it up during the break. Caleb Williams apparently changed the play. That final play, he changed the play, and here's what he said. I ended up changing the play because with the play we had 13 seconds. Any play you have with 13 seconds with no time, well, we had a timeout. But with that situation, 13 seconds, make a call and try and get it snapped and take a shot.
Well, and then further down, there's another quote. The NFL.com has this. We got lined up, got the play, and then I made an adjustment because I saw the clock running down, knowing that if we complete a ball in bounds or anything like that, we won't have time to kick a field goal. No, that's what the timeout's for. That's exactly what you should have done. Complete a ball in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Call timeout. You only need 1 second. You have 13 seconds. It is not going to take 13 seconds to complete a 5-yard slant.
No.
It should take no more than 6.
It's brutal time management. Eberflus standing there. I can't believe he hasn't been fired yet.
No, he liked what they did.
Our over-under was, 10 o'clock. So, he's still, we're about 8 minutes away. We're about 8 minutes away. Eberflus still has a job. And as Bart said, he comes out in the postgame and says that he had really no problem with what they did. Here's what it sounded like on Chicago radio.
15 seconds, 3rd and 26. Caleb's got to make a play here with 11 seconds to go in the game. Awaiting the snap, got to hurry it up. 7-6, takes the snap. Caleb Williams from the pocket, zings it down the field, twisting, turning inside the 5 as time expires for Roma Dunze. That's it, no flags, and the ball game is over. Everybody's standing around in stunned disbelief on both sides. Nobody's celebrating, but the game is over. Something happened down the stretch here. It did not make sense. 3rd and 26. That ball goes incomplete, and the Lions survive a hellacious comeback by the Bears from 16 down.
Something happened here.
I'll tell you what happened. You heard any hope for the future leave Tom Thayer's body.
And it
came from deep.
It made no sense. You think? I was on my couch going, what? I'm friends with 2 Bears fans.
Are they still Bears fans?
One of them I worked with out in Sacramento, my buddy Rami. I co-hosted with him. And I texted him yesterday. He's like, I sat on my couch for like 20 minutes. He was like catatonic on his couch for 20 minutes. WTF for like 20 minutes, trying to figure out what the hell he just witnessed. I text my other buddy Tim. He's like, yeah, he's fired tomorrow. We'll see. We're counting down. That was brutal.
Awful.
Great stuff, Barth.
You too. Good show.
I enjoyed this. Thanks to Nick Giamelli. Glad he's functioning well back there. He's doing everything right back there, that guy. Thanks to George. Good work by you too, George. Everybody have a great weekend. Continue to enjoy your holiday weekend. Be safe. Have some fun. We got Dondero and Perillo up next in for Zolak and Bertrand. Cattles, Barth, One final time in for Toucher and Hardy.